Hey, welcome back. With us today is Stephen Trentham. How are you, sir?
I'm great, man. How's it going?
Oh, fantastic. Just had a longer brew day than normal. Like we were just talking off camera a second ago, we both brewed a Hefeweizen, unbeknownst to both of us, which is pretty cool. So in a month from now, we could probably share what we got.
I'm excited about it, man. It's kind of cool, ironic that we both brewed the same thing today.
Yeah.
You
What
know,
yeast did you use? I forgot to ask that part.
the same one, WLP
Okay, the same
300.
one.
That's my favorite. Yeah.
Okay. There you go.
Well, first,
Um,
thanks for letting me join you in the podcast, man. It's kind of a unique experience, man. I've never been on a podcast. It's a little
yeah.
overwhelming, a little nerve-wracking, to be honest with you, man. But here
Oh,
we
it's gonna be
are.
fun. It's just us just chit chatting. I mean, that's all it is, just recorded. That's all. For everyone else to see.
Yeah,
So they get to see our weirdness pop out a little bit.
our beer
But
geek.
you've been the most brought up in our brew club to talk to, you and Joe.
Okay. Yeah.
All right. And I think Tim is number three. But I've not seen Tim. I remember last time I saw Tim in a meeting 6 months ago, maybe.
He has
It's
a
been
lot
a
of
while.
hobbies.
No, does he? Okay.
Yeah.
Busy man.
Yeah.
But before we get too off topic, give you your introduction like everyone gets. So with us, like I said, we have Steven. He's a CRNA, so he enjoys putting people to sleep, which I found fascinating.
Yeah.
He's 42 years young, married to 2 dogs and a cat.
Yeah.
He's been brewing between 10 to 15 years. Like I said just a second ago, he's one of my members of our homebrew club, BrewNet, which is great. Loves brewing styles and is obsessed with focus. So what I mean by that, he's really honed in on lagers and Weiss beers. He has a serious homebrew setup, which we'll definitely get into a little later on. He's a self-described homebody who loves to travel, enjoys cooking and exercising, which being in CRNA, I assume nursing, exercising definitely is part of it, and has won a couple of homebrew competitions. Did I miss anything?
No, man, that's pretty much it. I am 41 though.
There you go. 41 years young. I
41,
like
now
it.
42. Yeah. Give
Yeah.
me some slack. But yeah,
Yeah, I'm 49, so.
that's pretty much it, man. There's not a lot going on over here. I do like to homebrew. I exercise primarily to compensate for the beer drinking,
That makes sense. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I enjoy it. It's something to do, and I feel better doing it.
There you go. I wish I had that mentality when I was younger, doing sports and stuff like that. I enjoyed the pre-workouts, the after workouts. But once I got out of high school, I just didn't care anymore, really, honestly. I always had jobs where I was super physical anyways. Like I loaded trucks for a living before I moved down to Tennessee. So spend 15, 16 hours a day, slinging air conditioning units and heating units. You get pretty toned, right? So,
I'm
uh,
surprised you don't have back issues, man.
oh, I do. Yeah. I've degenerative disc disease. So like I'm sitting on a bed right now. But let's start with an opening question here. So you said you got into home brewing because you like beer and enjoyed the creative aspect of it. I feel like that was a simple answer to a more complex process that goes around in your head. So walk me through, how did you actually get started in this hobby?
I think in undergrad at
Okay.
ETSU
Hmm.
around 2000, I was just talking to Sierra about that a little earlier because I anticipated that question. So I was thinking around 2007, I started making wine. I don't really
Okay.
know why I got into winemaking. I probably went through a little homesteading mentality and I was trying to do something cool and self-sufficient. I probably had some rotten fruit that was around, so probably thought I'll make some wine. So wine making around 2007 and
Hmm.
2008, I kind of dabbled in making beer because the wine took forever. So 2008, I probably started making some beer and then kind of just, everybody on this podcast always says they call it the bug. I guess I call it the bug. I found a really, big interest in homebrewing. It's like I mentioned earlier or in the questionnaire, it was just a creative outlet. I like the process. I liked beer. I liked man, I remember going to where was it? Kroger or one of those grocery stores and always getting like the pick six and tasting like a German
Hmm. Yeah.
Hefeweizen or a German Pilsner or a Czech Pale Lager or, whatever. And that's kind of where I got into homebrewing. And throughout my life, I've just kinda wherever I've been, I've tried to incorporate homebrewing. whether I've been in an apartment in
Yes.
Chattanooga, we rented a house in North Carolina, I was dabbling with it, lived in a trailer in Johnson City undergrad and dabbled with it. Here we are. We live in Gray, so now I finally have a house and I have a lot more space to homebrew now. So
Hmm.
that's kind of the evolution of my homebrew.
Well, it's pretty cool because I kind of did the same thing. So I was at DTSU when you were at DTSU. I was there. I started in '05 and I graduated 2011.
Yeah.
So I went from I started off as pre-farm before pharmacy school started. So I was pre-med, then with a pre-farm, and then the wife suggested taking a couple of computer science courses. And I was like, okay. So I had like a heart to heart with myself. Like, if I don't get into pharmacy school, like, what am I going to do? I guess I could study for the MCAT. What kind of doctor do I want to be? I was like, I guess I can be a pediatrician because I like kids. I don't want to deal with adults. But then I still have to deal with adults because I deal with the parents. But I fell in love with computer science, and that's what I went through. So we actually have a buddy in common. I haven't talked to him in years since he graduated. Beer, I think his name
Yeah.
was.
Could be
Uh,
Hirschred.
yep. Yeah, we had like, I think bio one together. I think maybe chemistry one together, something else together. Maybe English or something like that. I really enjoyed his company. He was a great guy. I've actually bumped into him. Oh, it's probably been 8, 9 years now, but we were in Gatlinburg and just happened to walk by and he was trashed, which was hilarious because I know he drank. Then he had to
What?
go back. He had to go to work in the morning, and he was
Man,
just also all tore up. It was just funny. But I haven't seen him since then. But I
he's a
thought that was a
smart
funny little
dude,
thing.
man. I remember like
Oh yeah,
I
he
went to
was.
grade school with him and
Okay.
I remember vividly he helped me like in math a lot. I was pretty bad at math. So I remember Kabir always like he was my buddy. I'd go to him and be like, "Hey, Kabir, can you figure this question out for me?" Or he even broke his wrist on my trampoline when we were kids,
Oh
ironically enough.
wow,
So
that's
I
interesting.
haven't seen
Yeah,
him in
he helped me with a lot with the biology. He gave me some pretty interesting like what were they called? Pneumatics or whatever, like ways to help memorize the words and they break them down so you can remember them better and
yeah.
stuff like that. So that actually helped out because when I got the bio two was definitely like everything. It felt like you cover like the muscular and skeletal and vascular system, and then you get into botany, and then you get into something else. Like, holy crap, this is all over the place. This is biology too. I mean, I had to see
Yeah.
what 3 and 4 is like.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't know. I guess I didn't realize you were at ETSU around that time period.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was. So when I moved from Michigan, the part of the reason moving down here was for me to go to college and for us to raise our family down here.
Okay.
No, because we left Flint, Michigan, right when they shut down Buick City. Buick City made your Park Avenues and LeSabres. That's kind of why you don't see them anymore. They have like the La Crosse and Lucerne. And then we hope thankfully we're down here before the water crisis happened.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
So
I was about to ask you, isn't that where the water was tainted with what,
yeah,
lead?
lead, yeah, because they switched from Detroit water, which was chemically treated properly, to Flint River water, which is like the worst water in the world. Like, did you ever watch the Simpsons as a kid?
Yeah, yeah, I loved
You
it.
remember when they went fishing and they pulled out like the 3-eyed fish?
Yeah,
I
it's the
swear that's where they got it from, was the Flint River.
man, I hope
It
you
was
didn't eat a
just
lot
horrible.
of I hope you you didn't eat a lot of catfish up in Flint, Michigan.
No, I caught a lot of carp. I never ate them, but I caught a lot of carp.
Right.
Fun fish.
When
I
you
would
went
definitely,
when you went to ETSU,
yeah.
were you home brewing then?
No, I didn't start until 2021.
Okay. 'Cause, man, that time period around ETSU when I was an undergrad, there wasn't a lot of home brewing stores or access to home brewing ingredients. That was a dicey time for home brewing. And well, for me, it was in the Tri-Cities. I was curious.
Oh. Oh no, that's right. So I guess what I was the other part I was going to say, because what I would do to celebrate at the end of every semester, I'd go to like either Kroger or Food Lion, Food City, and I'd build a 6 pack of like different beers because I was a Bud Light man. I drank Bud Light like forever in a day, and I was like, well, let me see what these craft beers are kind of like. Which kind of them, as I learned, they're not really craft beers; they're just commercial beers that you just don't not a lot of people buy. So that's how I got my taste into craft beer. But yeah, so I started in 2021. My cousin Scott, he's episode number 1. I watched his post on Facebook. I was like, wow, if he's doing it, I mean, I can do this, I think. So I reached out to him, asked him what he got, and he's like, oh, I got this Northern Brewer kit. It's like $120. I'm like, okay. So I go to the home brewer, a northern brewer. I buy it. It came with a kit. I think it was an amber party block or something like that. And I made beer. I'm like, oh, this is kind of cool. It's not bad. It wasn't the best beer in the world, but I made beer, right? And then from there, like I watched like every YouTube channel I could find at the time. And then I joined State of Franklin. They kind of told me out front they weren't really teaching anymore at that time, but they're still by bottle sharing and stuff like that. I was like, oh, that's fine. I just wanted people's opinion anyways. And then can't remember his name, but he told me to go buy the John Palmer book, How to Brew Beer. So I bought that and I read that thing from front to cover like 3 times.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right, so I'm gonna do brew in a bag. That's the style I chose with. Like, I didn't feel like doing the 3-tier vessel system. Didn't want to the all-in-one systems. I don't think there were very many in 2021 that was reasonably priced, anyways. Or maybe I didn't have the money to buy one. So I do propane. So that's kind of where that's why I do. That's what I still do. There are times I would like to get an all-in-one system, especially like this winter. This winter was colder than most winters around here.
Yeah. It was
And I
bad.
brew in my garage, right? So it's about 45 degrees in there. So you're constantly doing the dance, like going back and forth, turn up the heat, turn down the heat.
Yeah. I know exactly.
You know the pain. You do with propane as well.
Yeah, I love being outside, and I love the idea. I mean, I've thought about the, all-in-one kinda system on electricity inside with a hood, but, I mean, I just like being outside. That's another advantage of homebrewing is I get to sit outside on a Sunday morning with my coffee around I usually plan to start brewing around 6 AM, so I'm sitting there watching the sun come up with coffee
That's
and the
awesome.
smell
Yeah.
of the wort and the hops, and it's just a very, I don't know, romantic time for me to sit out there and do that. It's another
Oh no, it's beautiful. I tried to start early today, and I think 8. But the
yeah.
wife was still sleeping, so I didn't want to wake her because I forgot to crush my grains last night. And I was like, okay. Well, one of my jugs of distilled water I had some floaters in it. It's already poured 3 gallons, and this was the 4th gallon, and some
Mhm.
floaters started popping around. I'm like, the heck is this? So I had to go back to the store, go buy more water. Oh, it was just
What was it? Did you
I
figure
have
it out?
no idea what it was.
In clean, fresh water that you
And
bought?
clean distilled water.
Yeah, I know you told me or I think I'd heard you always use distilled water. Well, that's kind of funky, right?
Yeah, it was. That
Some Flint,
kind of like I said.
Michigan water you got.
You got a toe floating in it.
Yeah. I use my house water. I did dabble recently trying to do, the Walmart water they use, they you can get the Primo jugs, Primo water.
Yep.
Yeah, I was just kinda I think I listened to one of the podcasts, and you guys are talking about, chlorophenols
Mm-hmm.
in house water, and, I always use Camden tablets to try to prevent that. I use carbon filtration, but I was like, "Maybe I am picking up a little bit of chlorine." So, I went to the Walmart and bought some, Primo jugs, used
Mm-hmm.
it, made the, kinda similar of a frequently made pilsner around here that I do, and be honest with you, I couldn't tell any difference.
Well,
Yeah,
okay.
so which is a validation that, like, my house water's it's okay, or what I'm
Have you
doing.
ever done like a ward test at all?
Yeah, I have. I sent it's been probably 5 or 6 years ago, I sent a sample of water to Ward Labs.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of people have done that on here, and, I have my water tested, and it's pretty soft, to be honest with you. It's a pretty good water. The only thing I was ever concerned about was how much chlorine they're actually putting in the water, and I think I talked to Kobe about that one day recently. He said they actually put quite a bit of chlorine in the water here. So there's no way to determine that other than if you've got a great palate, maybe you could pick it up, but,
Right.
yeah, I did a comparison test with the water from Walmart, Primo, and it's supposed to be, reverse osmosis, I believe,
Mm-hmm.
is what I've read, and, yeah, I did kinda like side by side, and I can't really determine
Couldn't tell that
if
difference
there's
between them.
any difference now.
Well, that's good. I mean, 'cause then you save money that way. I'm on the edge of the Johnson City water system, so I'm not sure how good the water is when it gets to my house. Because like I said, I'm in Unicoi, but like the water comes from Johnson City, which I'm in a weird spot. One day I have to have you and Sarah come out. So I live in Unicoi. I get water from Johnson City. I get my electric from Elizabethton, and I get my gas from Irwin.
Lord.
Right? It's I'm all over the place.
Yeah, right. And, you like you said, it's kinda hard to say, like, how much, like, I don't know, how much salt and, sediment you're picking up if you're on the
Mhm.
far end of the water line. I don't know a lot about water in that regard, yeah, it'd be interesting. You've never sent water out to get.
Not yet. I thought about doing it. It was just I've been so used to just swinging by, like, say, Walmart or Kroger or something like that, and just buying distilled water and building my own profile
Yeah.
because I'm kind of used to that for the most part. So I'm not sure if I got the report, how I would have to figure out how to read the report to see what salts are there, then adjust how everything I already do, anyways. Yes, it would save me money. It would probably save me $7, I'd say. Buying all the water I buy, $9 maybe. Um, it's something to think about. 'Cause what is it, like $30 to get it tested? Your water,
Yeah, I
something like
believe it
that.
was $30. I sent it
Something like
off,
that. Yeah.
and I got it back in about a week or something like that. I can't remember. It wasn't bad. I
Right.
kinda partially did it too because I wanted to know, like, how hard our water is here in regards to, like, shower heads and faucets, and, everybody talks about calcium buildup in their faucets, so I was kind of thinking, "Well, maybe I'll just mostly do it for brewing aspect, but also check it to see if our water's pretty hard," which, again, it's not. It's reasonably soft around here, which is
Yeah.
nice. It's good
That's
brewing water.
There you go. That is perfect. So, you say you typically start off like on a Sunday morning, bright and early. You watch the birdies fly by. You drink your cup of coffee. So, what kind of system are you using
Yeah,
when you
so,
brew?
I'm typically do 5 to 10-gallon batches.
Okay.
I have, a 7-gallon mash and boil electric system that I actually take outside and plug up, and, 7-gallon w that's just basically a water heater. So, I can set it to go off around 5 AM, and then, by 6 AM, that water should be, unless it's super cold outside, that water should be. That's my sparge water, 7 gallons of sparge water, uh, set to around 175 degrees, so that's that, and then I've got a 15-gallon SS Brewtech kettle with a false bottom. That's my mash tune, so I'm mashing a kettle, and then I've got a additional 15-gallon SS Brewtech that is my boil kettle. So, I mash in the SS Brewtech. After mashing, I sparge from that electric, vessel with a sparge arm, um, and then I run off into that 3rd kettle, and that one I lift up and boil. So it gives me opportunity to do 5-gallon batches or 10-gallon batches, and then from there, it gets a little complicated because, um, I have very cheap setup. I think 2 of my kettles are like hand-me-downs. I haven't spent very much money, and they're pretty bad shape, but they hold water, so, I haven't spent much money on the hobby, outside of my cold side. The cold side's the expensive side,
Yeah,
and
we'll definitely talk about that in a little bit.
yeah,
Yeah.
but the brewing, the hot side is basically a water kettle for sparge water. It's electric, and then I got 2 vessels, one with a false bottom mashing, the other one is for, boiling. And then I run off into a plastic food grade plastic bucket, and then I carry that in and dump it in conicals inside my basement.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
So,
So you
and
get a little bit of workout that way too.
yeah, I get a little bit of workout, yeah, and then, I think eventually it's gonna wear my back out, so, I don't know if it's gonna be like a old man's game, but for now, it gives me a somewhat of a workout, and I always check my watch. I've got a Garmin, so it tells me, like, how many calories I burn a day, how many steps, and, like, I did exercise. I like to, get on the elliptical when I'm mashing. I usually mash for about an hour. So I come
Okay.
up the
Yeah.
stairs and get on my elliptical and usually work out. So I'm already at like 11,000 steps today, Jeremy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna earn that
That
beer
is
tonight is what I'm gonna do.
right. That is beautiful. Yeah. So that's not a bad. Well, I mean, since I do propane as well too, but I don't have like I check on mine like every 15 minutes. I don't think working out would actually be that benefit because I'm like I'd have to get off whatever. I probably just start getting into the rhythm and
Yeah.
But yeah, I go back there, I stir, and then I wrap it up, or I have to adjust it a little bit. I'll turn it on for like 30 seconds, a minute or so to get it back up to the temperature where it was. One thing I've noticed, I've talked about this, I think maybe to you or to other people. So like on my kettle itself, I have a thermometer or thermo, what do you want to call it? Probably about 5 inches up from the bottom. And then I still use a digital thermometer on top, and there's always a difference. So I feel like every 15 minutes gives me a chance to recirculate not only all the grain that's in there to make sure it's still saturated, but also like mixing the temperature. So I'm trying to distribute that as well too, to make sure that I'm getting a proper reading all the way through, because it always gets so cooler on top, right? So um I find that to be my kind of dance that I do. When I say dance, do you do anything like that as well?
No, I hadn't, and actually, I hadn't really thought about it, to be honest with you. That's actually a really nice, idea because, I mean, I have a ThermoWorks ThermaPen, and I
Okay.
just check it at the top, so who knows what the temperature is, towards the bottom half of that mash.
Hmm.
Maybe it is hotter. I never actually thought about it. I guess I could use a longer turkey,
Oh, yep.
probe
Or
temperature
yep.
would be a good option, but no, I actually just don't, and I don't put too much thought or, you know, that sounds lazy. But I don't, I just check the temperature with the ThermaPen, and usually I'm happy enough with that, and,
Sorry. Yeah.
I try to aim for a specific mash temp, but I don't get worked up about it if I miss it by a degree or 2.
Yeah.
But
So I mean, I kind of do a little bit, I guess, because I was before I got a little more into the cold side. I think I was more concerned about the hot side. I wanted to make sure I get the best efficiency possible. I want to try to extract whatever that I'm trying to extract out whatever beer that I'm trying to make. So I always try to, like, if I want to 142, well, not 142, but like 148, I'm gonna try to make sure I'm always at within like a degree I'm fine with.
right, yeah,
But I've seen 3 to 5 degree difference before between like the bottom 5 inches and the top.
yeah,
To me that's a lot.
yeah.
Like I
That
said,
is
I make sure I stir the crap out of it, and then I'll kick the heat back on, and then I'll watch like I said, the thermometer built into the kettle itself, while I still have the other one on top, and I'm still stirring.
yeah,
That's kind of how anal I get, right?
yeah.
The cold side, I wasn't really too worried about it, because like everything I watched for a long time, even read was like, "Hey, whatever your basement is, it's good." I'm like, okay. So my basement was rocking, 68 degrees, and that's kind of beer I was making,
Yeah,
So
that's a good way to brew with the season, I guess.
yep, exactly. But then, like, I've talked again. I've learned, like, through this podcast, I've learned so much. Like, people before us have been doing this for thousands of years, and they never cared,
Yeah, right. I think your last
right?
podcast, you guys brought that up, and I guess I really hadn't put a lot of thought into it, but yeah, I mean, you know, uh, everybody talks about, like, German decoction technique and how, like, the
Hmm.
whole purpose of that was because they didn't really have a thermometer, so they knew what boiling was, so
Yep.
they just put them back in, so I think that's pretty interesting that, you know they've been brewing so long, they didn't have what we have, so I guess sometimes it's kinda nice to think about that and, know that, you know what, so what if I don't get 151 mash temp? That'll be alright. It'll
Right.
turn out.
It'll turn out
I don't put a
exactly.
lot of, I mean, I try to put some interest in the hot side. The cold side is kinda like I always feel like the make or break.
And I agree. The
Yeah,
more I've gotten into it, it definitely is. Like,
yeah.
my beers have definitely gotten better in the last couple years than it has prior to that, right?
I would
Because you
agree.
can make an okay wort, right? But if you have really good cold side, I mean, then you can make it even better. You make
Yeah,
everything much
absolutely.
better, right? So
Yeah.
right, so
I try to have good
um,
efficiency, so I'm just not wasting a bunch of grain, but, as
yeah,
long as my
that too.
efficiency's okay, my mash temperature's in a decent spot, I try to Vorloff pretty good so I don't get like a really hazy, dirty, wort runoff, um,
Mhm,
but,
mhm.
a good strong boil, I think I was thinking about this earlier, I think I'm kinda sensitive to DMS, and I think, so I boil a little longer than I maybe used to. Um, that's a weird subject to talk about because everybody's got an opinion about that, but I do boil pretty hard on a propane, and that's one thing I like about the propane. I can let it rip, man.
Yeah, you can. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. There's some like really interesting propane burners out there. Like, isn't one called like the Demon Hellfire or something like that. It's just man, it's just scary how much stuff that throws out. But mine, I got one that's actually it's about waist high. It's like a camping
Mhm.
stand, so
Yeah.
I don't have to bend over and stir. Cause I bought one off of Uriah, gosh, years ago, and I used his all the way up until it died. It just one day he's like it just didn't work no more.
Yeah.
I could never figure out what happened to it. Actually, I still got his I actually still use it. His work chiller.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he
Is it
it,
emergency?
no, it's just it's just a copper coil one. I think it was I think
That
it
you
was like
bought?
the I think it was like the first one he made,
Yeah.
and then he bought that really fancy one that has like 4 or 5 different lines going in and out and all that kind of crazy
Yeah.
stuff. I didn't buy that one.
No, I think I bought my burner from Chris Cates,
Okay,
years ago. He owned the brew shop in Johnson City. I think he
yeah,
just
the
I think
Estonian, yeah,
yeah, and the Edisonian brew shop, and then I bought my propane from him. Before that, it was just an old sheep turkey fryers.
a lot of days of
It
work.
works,
Hmm.
and I've had it a long time now.
So I know you do. I know you do like. I know you like to do a lot of different experiments. So as you're going through your experimental phase, how are you logging all this stuff?
I use Brewer's Friend. Um, I've used that for several years now, probably for over 10 years. I think I use Brewer's Friend, and
Nice.
I've got so many recipes on there, man. But yeah, I log all my recipes on that, and I'm pretty diligent about keeping notes on Brewer's Friend. And then we were joking the other day about like temperature, ambient outside air,
Yeah, 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 yeah.
and I actually do that a lot. So
Yeah.
if it's particularly really cold outside and my mash temperature was a little off, I try to think about that. And then like if the ambient temperature outside is say 32 degrees, I'll make a note of that. Next year when I brew this beer, I'll be like, why in the world did my mash temp drop so much? Oh, the outside temperature was 32. So I try to take good notes. I think that's something that's been pretty helpful to me.
Now, do you take a lot of tasting notes after the fact as well too, or?
Yeah, I
Or
think I don't do it all the time. I do it occasionally. If there's something I really particularly liked about a beer,
mhm, mhm.
and I'll make notes about that beer and because I plan to rebrew it. If I plan to rebrew a beer, I'll usually make notes on something in regards to
Yeah.
like what I didn't like about the beer, whether it was too
Mm,
bitter, too thin. I'll say like
mhm,
next time add wheat or next time mash higher. I think I did that on a pale ale recently. A hazy pale ale, we talked about that the other
mhm,
day at the brew club meeting, and my
mhm.
hazy pale ales always tend to be a little too dry to me, so I always like go up on the mash temp every time. So yeah, I do make notes on that, and I think you do the same thing, right? Which one do you use? Do
So
you?
I use Brewfather myself.
Okay,
I looked at all three of them. So you think Beersmith? I didn't like the fact that it didn't have a web interface at the time. It was just a standalone desktop application. Um, then I looked at Brewer's Friend, and then I looked at Brewfather, and I was torn between the two, honestly. But I felt like Brewfather had a lot of cooler features overall.
yeah,
Because I'm a full stack developer, so I do a lot of front end development, and so Brewfather is a little more shinier of a toy.
yeah,
Because I kind of like the UI of it. None of them are perfect because I do have the free tier of Brewer's Friend, or I did have the free tier. I don't know if I still have it active anymore. But they all miss something. Like I feel like the colors are off on both of them. I think the numbers they give you are fine, but when they actually show you like what the beer might look like, I think that color is just not even close to be and what it actually turns out to be. But I think the SRM estimation is probably more spot on than what the actual they think it's going to look like.
yeah.
So I think that's one problem I have with all of them. Actually, I've even thought about making my own, but that's a
That's
lot. That's
that's
a
a
lot.
lot for
It's a lot
you.
of math. That's
That
a
would
lot
be
of
a
math.
really cool like project for you though.
Yeah, it'd be a full project.
What kind of developer did you say you do?
I'm a full stack dev. full stack developer.
Okay.
So I do like front end to back end. So I do it all, right? So,
Okay.
um, yeah. So I've done that. Gosh, 18 years,
That's a
I'd
long
say. Because even when I was in college, I was doing full stack development for a private individual in Johnson City. So it was funny. So when I switched, so in '07, I switched from pre-farm to computer science in '08, and I started doing full stack development.
time. You bounced around everywhere with
Oh
different
gosh, yeah, I did all sorts of stuff, man. I'm a busy guy. Um,
Brewer's Friend's good. I think I was gonna add it's a little I feel like it's sometimes outdated because if I wanna add, like, oh, River Bend Czech malt, for example, then it's usually not gonna be on there.
Profile the same way.
Certain
There's,
hops are not
yeah,
gonna be on there, so but it's okay,
yeah.
I'll make it work.
I do too. So what? So the cool thing is like, I feel like I can add in what I want and give it the alpha acids.
Yeah.
Let's say like a sauce hop. So let's say a sauce hops I picked up was like 4.8 or whatever. Instead of I can click on theirs, but I can still edit the alpha acids to match what I have in my inventory. And I think I like that too. I'm not sure if Brew Friends have it, but Brewfather has a really nice inventory system where I can just store all the stuff I have on there. Then if I'm building a beer, I can click on my inventory. I'm like, oh, I have this, so I can add that as part of my beer recipe. So I'm not building everything from scratch, which is pretty cool.
Do you think, Brewer's Friend do you no, what'd you say? Brewers yeah, Brewers what'd you
Yeah,
say you use? Brewer's Friend?
yeah, Brewer's Friend. Yeah.
Yeah, do you think, like, when it gives you an estimated IBU, do you think that IBU matches what you're tasting? Like, let's say it gives you a
Ooh,
IBU of 25, do you think it tastes 25?
that is a very good question. I've often thought that myself. I feel like with my palate's not quite there yet, but when I made my pale ale for the competition we just had last week, um, it said 38 IBU. I don't think it was 38 IBU. I felt like it was a lot less than that. I thought it was maybe 30 to 25 somewhere. Like I didn't find it very hoppy,
Yeah.
myself. Like with yours, yours felt hoppier than mine. I'm not sure what was your IBUs on your pale ale.
Yeah, it was really low, it was, 25-ish, maybe?
Yeah, and felt like yours was hoppier than mine. And then even Brian's tasted more sweet. Like his had like sweet notes to it,
Yeah,
right?
his final gravity was much higher than probably ours was.
Yeah, but we all did something different
Yeah.
as well too. So I guess again we talk about this now. I want a theory craft for a moment. Okay, so when I did my hazy pale ale, um, I didn't adjust anything, right? I set it at I think it was at 68 degrees and I just let it go. Even with like dry hopping and everything. With yours, if I remember correctly, you bumped your temperature up when you were doing the cold side, and Brian brought his down on the cold side. So we all did something different. Of course, we all use different hops, obviously. But I wonder, again, this is where like the theory crafters is kind of coming in. Does that change some of the bitterness that we're picking up, depending on how we're on the cold side, going up and down on temperature like that? What are your
Yeah.
thoughts?
And I think a lot of that, like, I think Brian did that in order to dry hop colder, and I
Hmm.
dry hop a little higher than maybe my standard primary fermentation temp. Yeah, I wonder if like or maybe just leaving the beer on the hops extracts a little bit too much to that polyphenolic bitterness that
Hmm.
you're picking up. That's like maybe it's a little too grassy, or maybe I use too much hops. It's kind of hard to say. I
Hmm.
brought that question up earlier because I always feel like when I'm doing a recipe and I calculate, the IBU um on that profile is always it's just kind of arbitrary number. I don't know how they calculate, "Oh, this is gonna give you 25 bittering or international bittering units."
Hmm.
Either way, I feel like my recipe always overestimates how much bitterness I actually pick up, you know? Like, hypothetically, if I, like, make a pilsner and it says 30 IBUs, I feel like
Hmm.
it's gonna be it's gonna be, higher let's see, if it's 30, I feel like it's gonna be taste higher than that, you know? I feel like it's
Hmm.
gonna be more
Hmm.
bitter than actually 30, so Again, if I wanna shoot for a Pilsner at 30, I'm gonna, like, calculate around 25 IBUs. That's just my
Okay.
that's just
Okay.
my
No. Yeah. No. That'd be a fun experiment. I'm trying to think about hop that would like Saws would I think would be a fun one, right?
yeah.
Like you could do like make a you can do a smash beer if you really wanted to, or you can do some type of lager with like a Saws and try to like I guess under IBU and see what it tastes like, and then have another beer at that IBU, and then over that. So like you do like 25, 30, like and 35, and see what you actually pick up. You know, all the same hop schedule, and see what kind of pops out at you. I mean,
Or
actually, that wouldn't be too bad.
or I could just brew, like, a recipe and say, "Oh, this recipe calculates 25 IBUs," and bring it to the brew club and have everybody write down what they think the IBU is.
Well, that'd be interesting
It's
too.
kinda cool
Yeah,
to see, like, if everybody's like, "Oh, this is a 50 or this is a 20," or they I don't know, whatever. It doesn't really matter, but I do try to pay attention to bitterness when I make my beers, because I mean, obviously, it's a balancing act, right? So you wanna make sure it's palatable and it's gonna be highly drinkable, and I don't want some beers I don't want to be over bitter. I want to be pretty soft and pretty
yeah.
delicate, and I don't want that, like, harsh bitterness to pop up in a Helles, for example, or something like that, you
Oh
know?
gosh, yeah, right. Yeah,
Anyway.
exactly. Yeah, so like you brought up a good point. Like I bought this from Burial like years ago. I think it was like Surf Wax or something like that. I think that's what it was. And it said, and I didn't know what it was dry hopped. I just thought it was a pilsner. I was like, cool, I'm gonna get a pilsner, be clean, crisp, maybe a little bit on the sweet side. You know, sometimes they got a little bit of funk to them from like the sulfur or whatever. You know, things I was expecting to get, and bam, I get hit with this hop character. I'm like, whoa,
Yeah.
what is this?
Yeah.
And so I started reading the can and it said it was dry hopped. I'm like going, a dry hop pilsner. I was like, it's not horrible, but it's not what I was thinking in my mind as I'm
Yeah,
drinking it.
yeah, it's
And
big
I could have
difference.
swore it was like 60, 70 IBU because it was just so far out there. Because again, it was the style I already had in my mind what it's supposed to somewhat taste like. I just threw me off. And I guess you should do that. Bring that in. I think, but give us the style. Be like, okay, this is a pilsner,
Yeah,
and just
right.
give it to us. And like, okay, what do you guys pick up?
Yeah.
And be like, interesting. Because Ernie does that to us all the time.
Yeah, he does.
He's like, what is this beer?
Yeah. I
Because
like and
we're
I
like, huh?
like that, and I like that, and you guys have brought that up on previous podcasts. It's like, it's sometimes best just to not disclose what you brought. Maybe you just say, "Taste this and tell me what you get," and not, like, chalk it up to a certain style, because always people are gonna have, like, preconceived notions about, like, "Oh, it's a Pilsner, so it must have this much bitterness, and you must get this malt flavor," but sometimes it's nice to just be surprised and be like, "Well, this is what I get. Sorry, I tasted your pale ale, but it's actually a Belgian triple." That's kind of embarrassing, but
That'd be
anyway,
great.
great brewing project or, experiment with homebrew buddies.
Yes, yes. Yeah, Ernie's made some pretty interesting table beers too. Like I've thought about that making some myself, just like 2.5, 3% beer, just something just crushable, right?
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
be a good summer beer, right? Just something you can
yeah.
just sit and drink all day long and pray for a buzz. You probably pee more than anything. But speaking of loggers, you have an assumption with loggers itself. So you said that they are a particular ongoing challenge and you constantly try to improve. So, what is it you're trying to prove about your loggers, for one? And part two, what is so hard about that process?
So what we like to travel, Sierra and I like to travel, and I think I've been fortunate to drink like some incredible lagers, not only in America, but like in Europe too. And I feel like I feel like I've tasted some of the best lagers. And in my mind, I always have this idea of what I would like to make. And so maybe I'm just have higher expectations than what I can actually do on a homebrew level. But yeah, so um I've tried Helles, I've tried Pilsner and, certain breweries, and again, I've always got this idea of, like, what I wanna make, and I brew it, and it never turns out to be quite what I have in my mind, I don't know exactly what I mean, I guess that's the beauty of home brewing and beauty of making, lager too is 'cause I don't know, it's so challenging for me to make a Pilsner that is exactly the way I want it to taste, you know? It's almost like this endless search, and I guess that's the fun sometimes of what this hobby brings is like, yeah, it's a if it was easy, then I would probably gave up a long time ago, Jeremy.
Right. So how close are you now, do you think?
I've gotten probably not very close, to be honest with you, but I
Fair
have
enough.
I've made some pilsner that I've been happy with. I made a Helles one time that I was happy with. A couple of smoked beers I've been really happy with. My favorite thing I usually do in the summer is like a corn lager, and I like it a lot. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'm somewhat closer than I realize, but there's like a nuance when it comes to lager that I just can't quite get there. And I don't know if it's a matter of I'm a homebrew in the basement with like a small batch, and I'm dumping in a bucket and dumping it in the conical. I mean, I don't have a lager brew house like a commercial guys do. So
Right.
I'm missing a lot of things, but I'm doing the best I can, and, uh, and I enjoy drinking my lager. I mean, if I hated it, I wouldn't do it, but, I've got like a Hallertau Mittelfrüh Pils on draft downstairs right now that I particularly enjoy.
Mhm.
I had one last night out on the porch, and, it's beautiful beer, and it's this Czech pale lager malt, from Riverbend, and it's Hallertau Mittelfrüh, and it's 34.70. It's simple beer, like, most of my lagers are just smash beers, you know?
Okay, yeah. Yeah, so I get on board with some smash beers. I want hopefully this is a year where I do more because I want to experiment with different hops. I feel like I stuck with the same ones. I don't really deviate too far out. But I mean, I bought a Palethora from Atlantic, was it Ale House, whatever it was, out in Raleigh when they shut down a couple years ago. Like I think I got to the tail end of their going out of business sale. I just bought all the hops I could pretty much afford. So I have a plethora of hops just kind of chilling. I need to kind of go through and try them out. I got some that are there's like Sabro or whatever. I picked that up for like a stout one day. Make it like maybe like a marshmallow stout, or I think that sounds pretty good. It may be even good like in a lager, like a marshmallow lager,
Yeah,
right?
the
It might
Sabro's
be
a
kind of cool.
coconut flavor.
Coconut. Sorry, yeah, coconut, not marshmallow. I'm thinking of a honey. It popped in my head.
Yeah, that hop's got beaten down the road a lot. A lot of people hate that hop. Did you know that?
Nuh-uh.
Oh, yeah, a
Why?
lot of people hate it. There's some podcasts about hating that hop. I think it's on, All About Beer. They just did a podcast recently about how much people hate Sabro hops.
Well, I'm about to check them out.
I particularly like Sabro hops, though. I think they're
There you
really
go.
nice.
Yeah. But now you say that, maybe I'll make like a tropical blonde or something like that, like a
Wouldn't be a
pineapple
bad
blonde or
idea.
something like that,
Yeah.
right? So just a simple, easy beer, right?
Maybe throw some pineapple into that thing and make like a pina colada beer. How's that?
Oh, there you go, even better.
But,
So
with the lager, I just like lagers. I like to drink lagers, and, my favorite beers have been lagers, so that's kinda why I've kinda just
yeah.
gravitated to that over the years. I brew that. I don't brew a lot of different complex beers anymore, really. I just do a simple pale ale or, uh, German lagers, Czech lagers, maybe, American porter in the wintertime. Like my Weiss beer. I like a Weiss beer, or Hefeweizen, and that's what I did today.
Yeah, hopefully, I guess I'd hope say we'll be together about what 3 weeks from now. So hopefully ours will be done. Maybe we
Yeah,
can bring
maybe
it and
so.
try it out.
I usually keg condition it with priming sugar.
Do you know?
Yeah, I usually
Huh.
do that. I've always done that with, Hefeweizen. So I usually give it about, oh, 10 to 14 days to primary ferment, and then I take it to a keg, a CO2 purge keg with priming sugar and keg condition over 10 to 14 days in a keg.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Have you have you done it like the other way, just gone from
yeah,
the fermenter to keg itself and just so like what is the
yeah.
difference by
So
adding
I
the
think
priming
I get
sugar?
more banana, um, priming it in a keg. I think I capture some of the aromatic yeast, byproducts inside the keg. So, yeah, I think I get a little bit more banana, and that's kind of a more of a traditional, technique with a Weiss beer is
Okay.
conditioning it, and yeah, so that's one of them.
Maybe I should do something similar to that. Maybe not exactly that, but maybe I'll switch it over to the a keg and let it maybe put a spunding valve on it and just let it
Yeah.
chill for. a
Yeah, yeah,
while, right? And
absolutely.
then
Natural conditioning. Hefeweizen's a tough style, Jeremy. Don't you think?
every style I keep picking up is tough. Yeah, I haven't had one turn out yet. That'll be
Yeah, I know
tough.
you mentioned the Kolsch on previous, and
Oh, Cloche, holy crap.
I think a Kolsch is really hard to nail. I mean, it's kind of like it's one of those beers like, it's pretty easy to make a pretty good Kolsch. It's really hard, I think, to make a really good Kolsch, and I think it's really hard to make a really great Hefeweizen.
Yeah.
There's a lot of balance there, and the problem is you'll do the exact same thing next brew, and it'll be different because the yeasts just are kinda finicky, to be honest with you.
Mm,
The Hefeweizen yeast.
yeah. So I think that'd be an interesting conversation to get somebody like from White Labs or Y Yeast on here and like and ask some questions like that. Like what is the difference between what us homebrewers can buy versus like like the pro brewers? Like, is it the same quality? Is there like a slight deviation? To make it more affordable, do we get less than what the pro brewers get because they're paying more of a premium? I mean, those are the kind of questions I would love to ask.
Yeah.
Like a yeast company, and I feel like it probably is. I feel like I forget what it's called right now. So like, okay, I used to smoke a long time ago. So when you look at like Marlboro, right? So you're buying a premium cigarette. A Basic is owned by Marlboro, and Basics are like the leftover from the Marlboro line. So it's all the stuff that pretty much fell on the floor and they just shoved into a cigarette tube.
Yeah.
So
I
you got
just
to think all the leftovers.
You just don't seem like a smoker to me, Jeremy. That's what I was thinking
Oh
about.
my gosh. Yeah, I smoked. So yeah, it's not the podcast for that. We talk
Yeah,
about that some
maybe
other
we'll
time, but
do that on a different podcast.
never find
You ever
Jeremy
roll your
smoking?
own,
What?
Jeremy?
I did.
Did you really? Wow, you're a
Yeah.
professional.
Yeah, I did all that kind of stuff. Yeah, me and my wife quit like 14 years ago, I think.
You should do like a tobacco infused Scotch ale or smoke longer.
That's a snuff, a snooze. There you go.
Next time I do a smoke room, call it Jeremy's smoking lager.
Oh, that'd be awesome. I'd like the name. I even like the bong water that you had that one time. That was pretty
But
fun.
yeah, that tasted like bong water, didn't it? If you ever
Oh my
smelled bong
gosh.
water.
If you ever smelled bong water, yeah, it's like, yeah. So Steven made a beer that smelled just like bong water. Those who've ever done smoked weed out of a bong.
Call it your lemon diesel lager.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Well,
Did you use like lemon hops in it or something?
no, I just think that, I think we talked about it. I use that Abstracts,
Yep.
called Brew Gas. I just dabbled with it and I dosed just I think it was just a German lager with Sterling hops,
Oh, okay.
with that brew gas. I can't remember which strain it was, but man, it kicked out some like, lemon zest and diesel cannabis, notes, and, it was strong, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm. Very strong.
I think it made our whole room smell like a college frat house.
It's like driving around with Cheech and Chong.
Yeah, right, yeah.
So I guess kind of like I guess like an advice question for other home brewers out there. So if someone's out there who's only brewed ales and wants to try to get into lagers, like what is the one thing you think is important for them to try to get right off the bat?
I think to keep it simple,
Hmm.
don't like throw a bunch of bunch of malts in. I think get a strong, large yeast pitch. I would spend money on getting like buy a few packets of yeast. Try to make a starter.
Uh-huh.
I think you got to have a strong, a large pitch, and there's online calculators that I use to try to estimate how many cells that I'm starting with. I have a stir plate downstairs and a 5-liter, flask
Uh-huh.
that I typically start my lagers on. Um, and then the next thing, maybe if you can, get the beer cool. People obsess about, like, how cold you gotta get lagers, and I know certainly that there are commercial brewers making really good lager that are fermenting around 46 to 48 degrees. That's really cold. That's Fahrenheit, 46, 48 degrees cold. I think lagers can be done in the 50s, and I think everybody can probably reasonably get a homebrew down to that somehow or another. 3470s, 3470s, forgiving lager yeast, people call it like, the workhorse of lager production. And Fermentus, who creates that yeast, 3470 Saf Lager, they've done a lot of studies you can find online that they've done fermenting around 20 degrees Celsius on their website. I think that's approximately like 68 degrees Fahrenheit. But they have done studies to show that you can ferment 3470 cold, like we're talking 50 degrees Fahrenheit, or you can ferment it at mid 60s, and there shouldn't technically be any changes in ester profile. Everybody worries about the beer becoming too
Hmm.
fruity, but they've claimed there's no difference. I've never actually fermented lager yeast up in the 60s, other than maybe like a dry hopped West Coast Pilsner. I've gone low 60s, but um,
Okay.
my point is, I think a good lager pitch. Spend the money on a lager yeast, and then try to get the beer cool first, and I typically advocate for starting like my lagers cold for the first few days, and about 50% attenuation. I will give it typically a gentle rise for that diacetyl rest, and that's in German text. I mean, that's in German lager production. That's more of a modern take on lager production. I think old school, they would keep it cold and drop it down at the end of fermentation and give it
Hmm.
a long lagering phase to clean the beer up. But a lot of modern brewers who produce good lagers start cold, give it a little gentle rise till terminal gravity, and then just drop it, lager it, drink it reasonably soon. Everybody thinks that. I think a lot of people think you still need to lager it forever. I don't think that's quite necessary, but that's a very contentious issue, I think.
Yes. Oh, I've heard so many different arguments about that. I've heard like, let it sit for, up to 6 months before you try it. Like, I don't want to wait that long. And some people are like, you can drink it like, a month later. I'm like, okay, well, I'll try it then. So what is your thoughts on like doing under pressure if you don't have a cold side, a good cold side?
Yeah, I've never done that, to be honest with you. And I know a couple guys who have, and they claim it makes really good clean lager because the pressure prevents like the ester production. Um, I think, yeah, I've never done it, and I think I don't really know, because some of the best things about lager production are like things that uh, the beer produces, like, a lot of sulfur early on, and I'm not talking, like, always rotten egg, but it can produce, like, the SO2, which is, like, sulfur dioxide, and some of that needs to blow off a little bit, and if you're trapping all those, flavors that are typically gassed out, um, I don't know what the beer would taste like, to be honest with you. Maybe
Fair
it'll be
enough.
good. I just don't know. I don't have any experience with it, but under pressure, I know a lot of people advocate for doing that, but I've just never done it. I usually do open fermentation for the
Okay.
first 3 or 4 days,
Wow,
and
really? I didn't
and
know
I
that.
I o I just I don't basically, I don't seal the lid. I keep the lid on so bugs
Oh, it's
don't,
just loose, basically. Yeah.
but it's just loose, right? So I do 3 or 4 days, and I actually look in there, smell it.
Hmm.
You always have, brown, they call it in German, like, brown hef. It basically just, uh wort byproducts that float to the top during fermentation. The kind of brown, scummy looking stuff, you can skim that off. It's very bitter. You taste it, it tastes bad. So I try to skim that off.
Okay.
That's another thing I read about in a German text that's supposed to make the beer a little bit more soft.
Oh, interesting. I didn't know about that either. Yeah. So I've done a couple under pressure beers. I have a really fancy spinning valve. I bought it for my birthday a couple years ago, maybe 3 years ago now. By a person named Trong. He's a retired like bioengineer, biochemical engineer, or something like that. He makes all sorts of cool like homebrew gadgets. He's a smart man. So what I mean, like it's like a Swiss Army knife. I can daisy chain my spinning valve to other kegs.
Yeah.
I can even take the output of the CO2 and purge a keg with it. There's other little odds and ends I could probably do with it as well. So it's really nice. I like it. So I did a cerveza. I don't think you had that one. If I think about it, we were at Paul and Crystal's for like a meeting. This was probably last summer, I want to say, and I don't recall you being there, but I did a make a Mexican cerveza, and I pre-limed it.
Yeah, okay.
So
That's
I already
something.
threw like lime inside of it and everything like that
Yeah,
because like most people like Mexican beer with lime. I was like, well, I'll save them the time
yeah.
and I'll just throw lime inside of it and be done with it. I liked it. I thought it turned pretty good. It reminded me between a Pacifico and like Victoria in a way, maybe a
Love
Takata.
Victoria.
So
That
it's
sounds
kind of like
great.
in between all those styles.
Yeah.
I did use 3470 as a yeast just because it was just again dry yeast is just cheaper than the
Absolutely.
liquid is. Um, I didn't get no sulfur smells off of it, but I did like 12 psi, which seems to be kind of what I do everything under. If you read a lot of it, it's like between like 10 and 15. Some people go really low. Some people do like 6 or 8. I've not read anything that gives me any evidence to why you want to go that low.
Yeah.
But it could be on the style that they're doing. Cause I've even done like a couple ciders under pressure too. Thought maybe I could clear up some of the that sulfur smell, but that's just basically like this yeast being completely stressed out. Like, so I just need to add more like yeast nutrient to it. And I just don't. I just forget to. I add maybe enough to treat a gallon, but I'll make like 2 or 3 gallons at a time and don't treat it properly. And then the cider stinks for a while, and you got to deal with that whole mess. And
What temperature did you
it's always
ferment
kind of
that
fun.
beer at? You may have said, what temperature did you ferment that beer at? Just curious.
Oh, the Mexican cerveza.
Yeah.
So when it's in the kettle itself, I will chill it down to about 70 to 68 degrees, and then I transfer that right into the keg itself. So it's essentially at 68 degrees, and then I push the lager yeast on top of that, and then then it's under pressure at that point.
Would you like it? So it was clean, you said?
I thought it was clean. I thought it was pretty good. I'd make it again. I just haven't had the chance to make it
Yeah,
again.
I would like to try some beers, lagers specifically fermented under pressure. I think Uriah did one or two like that,
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah,
from
he
my
did.
memory, I feel like they were always clean. Yeah, I mean, I think it would just be a different process for me, and I've always done cold, and I like the cold, and I have access to it, so I just do it. But I've
Yeah,
never.
100%. Yeah, you do. Yeah. So like I didn't at the time. So I made you probably heard this before, not bringing it. So I have a janky cold size system. So I use a 4.5, 5 gallon skinny trash can, like a plastic trash can. I fill up with water. I put ice into it. I have a small little aqua pump, a little palm pump that feeds out. It goes into a anvil coil, which is just like a little S coil. If it goes inside my little bucket, fermenting bucket itself, and they have a probe that goes inside of that. It says, okay, is it 65 degrees? Okay, it's too hot. So I went down to 63, kicks on the pump, circulates the cold water and brings it down to temperature.
That's cool, man. Yeah, that's one thing I've learned by watching all your previous podcasts is that, like, I feel like I'm such an idiot. Like all these guys are been very creative and making all kinds of like systems and they make it work. I guess that's the beauty of homebrewing is you can just dabble and
Do whatever. It's great. Yeah.
be not only creative when it comes to beer, but create things to make the beer. I don't know. It's
Yep.
interesting to hear.
So I do want to jump ahead just a little bit in some of these questions here. So you're a CRNA. How does that roll in your professional life? How does that translate into your homebrewing life? Like, what kind of parallels do you see?
You you know, I actually anticipated that question because
Good.
you asked a couple of questions that were similar to that, and I thought about it for the for the past little while, and honestly, I can't figure out anything that
Yeah.
would
Okay.
be
Fair enough.
helpful
Oh, well.
as it relates to being a CRNA. I mean, maybe being very vigilant, possibly being
Yeah.
very like
Hmm.
attentive. I
Hmm.
think maybe
Hmm.
is the only thing that could come up with. I mean, obviously at work I'm very attentive, and when I'm home brewing on a day like this morning, I'm very attentive. I'm paying attention to my mash
Hmm. Hmm.
pH, mash temperature, and I'm cleaning one thing while I'm making sure I'm not to have it boil over. And I'm
Yeah.
very
Exactly.
time oriented, so like I make sure all my times line up. I have this
Hmm.
watch, and it measures like my time of this hop goes in now, and this hop will go in then. So
Cool.
maybe time management, some being attentive, but outside of that, I can't think of anything else.
So you say that, and I'll probably disagree with you because I think I've done this to like a few other guests, right? So you have a scientific background, right? So you're analytical, right? So it goes into your obsession to learn more, right? And your career forces you to constantly learn because, like, I feel like your degree or what you do for a living, it hasn't always been the same. It's always evolving. New gadgets are coming out, new techniques come out. So I think you are using your analytical part of your brain that you use for your degree and your job as you do for wanting to learn more to make better beer. Because, like you said a few times, I was like, according to the German text, this says to do it this way, right? So I think there are parallels between your, Steven's career life and Steven's homebrew life. Like, I never thought of it either. Like, it's a question I ask myself before I even ask this question to people. Like, I'm a programmer by my trade, but I work really hard to be lazy. And it
Yeah.
sounds hilarious when I say that, but I work really hard to solve a problem, so I don't ever have to worry about it again. So when I came up with that solution for my cold side, like, I am content with that. I solved a problem. Now, could it be better? Sure. I could go buy a used air conditioner. I can make my own glycol system, blah, blah, blah. But that's another piece of equipment I have to have laying around in my basement. More electricity I'm going to use to get that thing going, blah, blah, blah. Like, what I do is fine. I'm totally content with it. And if not, I can just use a spunding valve and I can make a pseudo lager. Because again, it's not a true lager at the end of the day. We all know that.
Yeah.
But I don't plan on going pro. There's no money in it for me to go pro. The only way I'd go pro is I'd have to win a multi-million-dollar lotto so I could just lose money to make what I want to make.
Right.
you know, that would be a blast, honestly. It'd be fun just making beer and just selling that to people.
It would be really fun. I'm jealous
But
of the guys who can do it.
yes, I'm just almost I could do it and make money. I feel bad for the ones that just struggle. That's who I feel bad for. Like, I don't want to bring their names up per se, but like watching the few people that we know closely just shut down sucked.
Yeah.
It was just horrible to see them go through that. Fortunately, one's coming back, which is great. But still, watching them just collapse was just a horrible thing, and I just felt so bad for them. Then the other ones we just lost recently was horrible too.
Yeah, it's really unfortunate to hear that. I mean, both of us have friends in the brewing industry, and
Yeah,
it's a tough industry to be in,
yeah,
and to keep afloat. And it's just always hard to see people's like dreams kind of like be crumpled.
yeah,
Like, it's not necessarily you. You can make good beer, but that doesn't mean the brewery's going to be sustainable. It's just a hard market right
yeah.
now.
Oh, it's
People
so
drink
hard.
less, and costs of ingredients has gone up.
Mm-hmm.
Rent's outrageous anymore, so
Yes. Yep.
it's hard to be in the business. So yeah, I'm
Oh, it really is.
feel super
And
bad for the people that are trying and struggling to do it. But yeah, it would be fun to wake up and brew beer every day. I don't know.
yeah, it would be fun. I think you have to have entertainment too. I think that's the other thing. That's like it. You just have to have that nowadays. You have to have a good hangout vibe. You have to have, bingo night. You have to have karaoke night. You got to have these things because it's just expected
Yeah.
nowadays. Like I've not been to a brewery that didn't have something going on in a corner somewhere and a food truck outside.
Oh, dude, brewers are such a fun atmosphere, man. You
Yeah.
walk in, the music's great, you smell food, you smell like wort, you smell hops.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
People are always happy. Well, generally, people are always happy. Sometimes the
Generally,
bartender's
yeah.
not happy, but everybody's usually happy. I don't know, there's usually dogs hanging around. The fact the last guy didn't like the dogs, I remember that one, but
Yeah.
I like dogs, and, usually the dogs are walking around and the weather's nice outside. I don't know. I'm a big brewery guy. I like breweries, man.
I do too. Like, the wife is starting to get used to me. Like, okay, we're gonna go somewhere new we never been before. I'm already looking to see what breweries they have.
Yeah.
I don't have to hit them all. I just at least just let me hit one. Let me check it
Mhm.
out. And so I've been there, done it. Like, we went to Hilton Head 2 springs ago. Yeah, I think it was 2 springs ago, and they had a Lincoln brewery down there. Oh, I gotta
Oh,
check it out. We go, my last
cool.
name's Lincoln. I gotta go check this place out.
Absolutely.
So I'm looking at their menu, and it is just chock full of IPAs and West Coast or New England IPAs.
For a
I'm
guy
like,
that do like
okay,
IPAs.
right? I'm
Yeah.
like, oh god, there's a lot. So they had a cerveza on the menu. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna get that. And I do that every brewer I go to. I always get a lager of some sort because you can't hide things in a lager, right? We just got on talking about that. They're hard to do. Where like a lot of other stuff, you can keep adding, blending, blah blah blah, till you get a product that is palatable. And it was a pretty solid. Um, Cerveza. And the interesting thing is they were from like Lincoln, New Hampshire. Like, so I asked him, I was like, how'd you guys come up with this name? I was kind of hoping maybe the last name was Lincoln. No, it just came from the town that you came from. I'm like,
Yeah.
it wasn't as good a story as I thought it was going to be.
If you go to a brewery, is that the beer to go to? It'd be a lager. Is that what you pick, or do you pick
So that's what I try to go with. If they have a lager on tap, I usually go with that because then I can judge basically how good the brewery is overall.
Yeah, right.
But if they have nothing but like pastry stouts and New England IPAs and all this, it's like they may all be good, but again, like you can adjust that stuff so much to make it good after the fact, right? Because you have to make a beer that sells. And again, if you listen to me and Elijah, I mean, we talked about blending beers and stuff like that to make sure that it is palatable. Because again, you made 30 gallons, 60 gallons of this beer that you have to sell something. You had to sell this, right? So we have to tweak it so it is sellable.
Yeah, you mentioned make it like if you can make lager, probably good brewery, and I think that's why I gravitate again to making lagers because like
Mhm.
I feel like number one, making lagers has made me a little bit better home brewer. Number two, I think I think in just in general, if you can make a good lager at home, you're
No.
probably can make a decent pale ale or a decent porter or something because there's so many little tiny things you have to consider because it'll be glaringly obvious if you don't,
Yes.
you know?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah,
I want to make a Helles. Helles is definitely one of my favorite styles.
tough.
I've had a couple bad ones, but the ones that I have that were good were just knocked my socks off. They were just so good. Like when I went to Hobby Possum 2 Hobby Possums ago, there was a gentleman there, and I can't remember his name, but he gave me his like recipe, and it's a step mash
Uh-huh.
recipe on top of it. Um, I need to make it. I'm going to make it. I think I'm going to make it this summer sometime. I'm just going to pull the trigger and just make it. But his was so good. Like I stayed at his tent so long that I actually helped him tear down his tent and pack up his car to leave.
Yeah, I'd heard you talk about that Hellas in previous
Yeah.
podcasts. I was curious if you have the recipe. I always curious to know what people what malts they use, what
Yeah.
yeast they use and stuff like
Yes,
that.
I'll definitely send it to
Helles
you.
is man, Helles is a really complicated beer to make good. I think you can make a one that tastes pretty good and average, but like I think it's really, really hard to nail a Helles because man, there's a fine balance there of malt flavor, some bitterness, fermentation characteristics, stuff like that. So
Yeah, I'll
Helles
definitely
is
I'll send it to you for sure. Yeah, I'll look it
yeah,
up
it'd
and
be
send it to you.
interesting to see. And in addition to that, I like the transparency of people. I enjoy
Oh
talking to
yeah.
people and be like, "Oh yeah, here's what I used for here's my Hellas." Some of the
Hmm.
best lager brewers in America I've spoke to like via email or at the brewery, and most of them are usually pretty kind enough to be like, "Yeah, this is what I used for this beer," knowing that I'm not going to be able to really duplicate this beer at home, but I
Hmm.
can
Hmm.
close. But they're saying, "Hey, here's a recipe. Good luck."
Have you noticed? I've noticed this recently. Probably, I was in Nashville a few months back, and I went to my son wanted to. Well, the son wanted to go to WikiWeed, the cidery there, and some other place. So I'm like, and I'm still used to years before that. I would talk to people like at the bar top and talk to them, and there's always somebody that is worked either they were one of the brewers or they were a helper, so they knew the stuff they were selling. I've realized here recently it seems like there's just people that they hire and have no idea what they're selling, and I
Yeah,
go
right.
ask them questions. I'm like, so this, I can't remember like the cider was. I think it had like a pomegranate cider. So I was like, so with this pomegranate cider, did you guys? I knew the question. I kind of knew the answer. I knew what you're not gonna do. It's like, so do you guys squeeze your own pomegranates? Did you guys buy the palm juice?
Yeah.
Do you get puree? So I knew the one was just kind of like an asinine answer because nobody's gonna sit there and squeeze pomegranates, right? But I was just kind of curious, like, how did you impart that stuff? And he's like, "Oh, I don't know. I just work here." Basically, was his answer. I'm like, "Oh, that's interesting." So I went down to WikiWeed, and they had I forgot what kind of beer they had on tap, but it was like it was some type of like IPA. It sounded really good, but I was kind of curious. Oh, what kind of hops are in this? And she had no idea. I was like, it was a good IPA. It wasn't bad. It was more of like a sweeter, more like a fruit punch kind of flavor IPA. But I was still
Yeah.
kind of curious. Like, what if I want to try and make this at home? But have you noticed that by your travels here lately? Do you think that it's not the same type of conversations that you once were having?
You know, uh, I have noticed that at certain breweries,
Mhm.
that some people, staff maybe don't know as much about like the product as maybe what I would like them to know, you know, and that's okay. I mean, I know that it's really hard to staff their businesses and stuff like that. I still feel like people should know what they're serving, right? I mean, they may not had any hand in making the beer, but you know, if I ask a server, "Hey, what's this pale ale taste like?" I would almost expect them to give me a good idea of what this pale ale is gonna taste like.
Mhm.
They may give me a sample, yeah, but I do appreciate the interest and the care that goes into their product,
Right.
and if their server knows a lot about the beer, hey, that's respectful to me, you know, like,
Mhm.
I appreciate that, and I'm gonna maybe think about that brewery when I leave, and like, "Man, that's a good place. They know what they're
Mhm.
doing," you know? There are places I've traveled where I went to breweries and asked a question. Man, I get everything I need, you know? Like, they're really
Yeah.
open to telling me everything that goes into the beer. Sometimes they'll even take me in the back and show me the
Mhm.
brewery
Yep.
setup,
Yeah.
and those places are the beautiful places that I go that I'm like, "I'm gonna go there. I'm gonna support that brewery every chance I can get," you know?
Right. Yeah. I had that experience this past May. Me and my cousin, we met up in Florida, kind of did like a little cousins reunion trip, and we both enjoyed beer. It was my cousin Scott, like the one I was telling you about before. So we hit a couple of different breweries. But the one we went to, they were actually from Michigan, which was great because they drive up to Kentucky to pick up some items, but then they'll drive all the way to Michigan to get the hops, and they'll drive all the way back down to Florida and they'll make their beer
Yeah.
because they're already on the road anyways. They always drive back and forth. So I got the chit chatting with them. They're like they're our age, they're 40 plus, so they're all into like the 80s, 90s theme. So every beer had an 80s or 90s theme named after it, which was again our generation, which was great. And then talking to one of the owners, which is and then I got to meet his brother, who was the brewer. Took us in the back. We were just chit chatting with him, and then after talking to him, like he was using very simple yeast. I thought like he would use like more high end yeast, but he's using like Safel yeast, just stuff that like I buy,
Yeah.
just bigger quantities. I'm like, oh, that's pretty interesting. And then he had a gluten free beer that tasted like I kid you not, this thing tasted like a cherry Coke.
That's cool.
That was so weird. I was like, "You sure this is a beer? Is that like a seltzer?" It's like, "No, this is beer." And they use like quinoa. Oh crap, I'm forgetting now. But they use quinoa and like in a bunch of different like adjuncts to make it, gluten free.
How cool.
But it was really really neat. But then it reminded me, Todd did that. Todd made a quinoa, maybe a pale ale or something like that. It was really really good.
Yeah.
It was a gluten free beer that he made.
That's pretty neat.
God, I've seen him around a long time either. Now I think about it.
He had total knee replacement recently. Poor Todd.
Oh yeah, that sucks, poor guy.
He's good though. I checked on him, last week. He's good.
Okay, good, good,
So
good.
that's a good experience that you were able to talk to the brewers
Mm-hmm.
and talk
Oh, that's a
about the beer,
blast.
and then that man, that's like some of the most, like, best experiences I've had at breweries is when I've got to talk to, the brewers, people in the back, you know, got to see the systems and stuff like that. I had a
Mhm.
really good experience at Live Oak. That's in
Okay.
Austin, Texas, a few years ago. It was late, and we'd been drinking a lot of lager, and I got to chatting with the owner, at the bar, and,
Mhm.
his name is Chip, wonderful guy, and, he was happy to take me in the back and show me their, like, whole, it looked like a sea of horizontal lagering tanks, and he got
Uh,
to show me his, brewing system was a Braucon from Germany. It's, like, specifically made for well, I don't know if it's specifically made, but it was created to make a Hefeweizens a lot. They would do a lot of Hefeweizen down there, so, that was a great experience, and he was happy to tell me anything I had questions about, you know?
mhm,
And then he
mhm.
brought me back up to the bar and he opened up these cans that had no label. They were just aluminum silver cans. And we were like, "Hey, here's a corn lager. Try this corn lager." It was a good experience. And you know what? To this day, when I see Live Oak, dude, I'll buy it. I don't even care. I'll buy what I can of it because I like to support people like that, you know?
Yeah. Yep. I had a similar experience at Highwire with my oldest son. This has been a while now, maybe 4 or 5 years ago now. Like we sat up at the bar because it was just me and him, and we're just trying a bunch of different samples. No, I wouldn't say samples, but we're buying flights, so we're buying flights of this, flights of that. And we're chit-chatting with one of the, I think he was like assistant home brewer, but he was actually just bartending that day. And it's like, we got this stuff in the back that we uh brewed with a wicked weed. We're not selling it. You want to try it? Sure, why not? So it was like he said it was a sour. I'm like, I don't like sours. But I was like, I gave it a shot, but it was a tart, but it was a really good tart. It was like, trying to think of that candy. It reminded me of like, oh, those sour cherries in a way. That's kind of what it reminded me of, like a sour cherry candy. Like, I mean, it wasn't sweet, and there's like sugar to it, but like the sour cherry flavor. It was actually really good. I don't think I could drink more than 6 ounces of one of them, but other than that, it was really really good. He was like so happy that they made it and proud of it, but they only made, I think it was like, I don't know, like 15 gallons. So it wasn't a whole lot. It wasn't even worth really selling. They just kind of gave it away to certain people. And so that was a cool experience. And I
Yeah,
got to
absolutely.
share with my son too, which is even cooler. Right. So
Yeah,
because my wife doesn't drink beer.
yeah. No.
Yeah.
Highwire's another brewery that I'll advocate for because it was a few years ago we did a Marzen style, Oktoberfest style, kind of like a homebrew experiment, and I reached out to a few breweries, and I never asked like, "Can you give me the recipe to your Oktoberfest?" But I did want some information about their Oktoberfest because I was going to bring the can to the homebrew club and say,
Yeah.
"This
Okay.
is
Yeah. Yeah.
Highwire Fest. It has this malt and this yeast and these hops," and, like, I wanted people to be able to drink the beer and also, correlate what they're tasting to, like, the recipe or what's in the
Hmm.
recipe, and, Howard actually emailed me the whole recipe to Fest,
Oh,
and
that's
I
so
never
cool.
asked for that, and I didn't expect it, but I appreciated it, and, man, I was just so again, every time I see, Howire beer and I'm looking for a beer on draft, I'll usually buy Howire because they make great beer, but I just appreciate people who are open and transparent to me as a home brewer, you know?
Yeah. That's really cool. Yeah. Yeah, so I kind of want to get into a little bit of like competition and community and stuff like that. I think it's always a fun one. So you mentioned you've won a couple homebrew competitions. Tell me about those. Like what did you enter? And
That's to be honest with you, I can't remember a lot of them. I
fair
think I
enough.
I won an award at, like, Thirsty Orange a long time ago with an IPA, and then I
Nice.
went through a little phase there where I was, like, submitting some homebrew into some, like, competitions. I think it was in South Carolina, maybe
Hmm.
Georgia, I can't remember, and I would they would send it off and write what beer it is, and it's like BJCP kind of like beer and send it off, and I would win, like, here's a bronze or here's whatever, I don't know. I never won anything big, to be honest with you, like, they were just kinda little awards, and I think I did it because I was wanting to get feedback. I was wanting to get some judging feedback on, like, I think I'm making good lager. Am I really making good lager? So I think I sent a Dunkel out one time, and, I don't know, I think I sent a couple other things out. I can't remember what they're probably lagers, but, judging, feedback was all over the place, though, to be honest with you. One person said, like, the beer was too hoppy, and the other person said it wasn't hoppy enough, or this one they tasted fruity esters, and this one tasted it's too clean, or I don't know.
Too
Yeah, I don't know. The
it's too
judge
clear. I can see my
yeah,
fingers.
I don't know. The judging was kinda all over the place, so I didn't really feel like I benefited from any of the feedback, to be quite honest with you. So I think I did a year or 2 of that, and then I kinda got out of it. So I don't really do a lot of the competitions much anymore. If it's good enough for my wife to drink, then it's probably a pretty decent beer 'cause she's
Perfect.
picky, she's hard.
Oh.
Maybe that's why I'm so, anal about my homebrewing because she's, like, really, like, man, she's tough to get a beer by. She's happy to be like, "Well, this beer tastes fruity," or "This I don't like this beer," or something. Sierra's got a really good palate, way better
Yeah,
than
I've noticed that over the years.
She
Yeah, for
she can
sure.
taste, she can taste things that I can't taste, and she's tried really good beer, in our traveling. She's tried some of the best beer in America in the world, probably.
Yeah, so and that's kind of my goal is to make a beer that my wife would drink. That is tough because she don't even like the smell of hops. So like right when I put in like the hop edition, she's like, I can smell that. I was
Oh
like,
yeah.
okay, I'm sorry, but I need to bitter it. So
Maybe she'll like the banana forward Hefeweizen you
I
brew.
hope so. I hope so. I have high hopes for this one. This is gonna
Yeah.
turn out good.
That's a good yeast. That's my favorite
Yeah,
yeast. I hope you make a good
yeah.
one. I hope it turns out
So do
well.
I. So I do recall there was a competition that you and I were pinned against each other. It's the first competition I ever entered to.
As State of France, yes, it was a
It's-
state.
it was I think it was for anybody could to be in that one. I think it was over the mountain could have been part of it, but it was held at it was at State of Franklin meeting,
Was it
right?
deep?
But it was at depot. But I think anybody could enter. I think it was just an open competition. So like I think I made a stout, and I think you made a porter, and you're sitting there and you're like talking about your porter like, oh, this is the best porter ever made. This is
Yeah.
so good. You're telling me
I was happy with that
you
port. I
were
know.
telling me everything about it. And
Yeah.
I'm like, shit, I'm pinned against, Steven. This guy's got at least 7, 8 years on me. I was like, this is going to be a slaughter fest. So I sat there and I'm listening to you talk to it. And I was hyped for you too. I was like, oh, dude, that sounds so good. Sounds better than my stuff that I made. And then when they started giving out the awards, first of all, they didn't even say my name right. They were like, Jerry Lincoln? Who the hell's
Yeah.
Jerry?
Yeah,
It's like
right.
Jeremy Lincoln. I was like, yeah. Like they're taking attendance. It's like, here, you
Yeah.
won. And he handed me the medal. I'm like, I won what? And I look at him like, oh. I looked at you like, I won.
You
And
bastard.
it was like what? Like a point or two or something like that? It was super close.
Yeah, I don't
Super
remember. I
close.
remember your stout was delicious. I
It was,
remember it being
yeah.
delicious, and I remember thinking, "Damn, my porter was good, but yeah, his stout's better."
Yeah,
But
I was so happy.
yeah, I remember
The
that. I
stack that
remember
I won.
those.
And then you won for like an IPA or something like that afterwards, I felt like.
Yeah, I don't remember. I just remember that specifically because I think I was happy for you because I was
Yeah.
happy for you because I think you really didn't enter a lot of beers. You're reasonably kind of new to home
Yeah.
brewing,
I don't I maybe do 6 beers a year or something like that. I don't
and
do much.
I was just happy for you, man. I was
Yeah.
it's very I was enthusiastic that like your beer's not only improving, but you're also gaining a lot more excitement with the hobby. I'm
Yeah.
a homebrew advocate, man, and
I love
if
it.
I see somebody growing in the hobby, then I'm happy for them. I want everybody to make really good beer, man.
Yeah, so that's like the premise of this podcast. I don't know if we talked about it or not. Was basically like kind of again spread awareness of it, right? Like,
Yeah,
and then the people behind it because everybody's so unique. Like your story is not the same as Ryan's Tool story or same as Kobe's. Like, yes, we all got into brewing, we've all fumbled, we've all had disasters, stuff like that. But we're all different. We all nerd about different things, and I think one person said it best. This podcast ain't out yet, but like I can live 1,000 years. I can never make all the combination and permutation of beer styles,
right.
and I agree with that. Like you just can't. And I think most of it has to do with like just take hops for example. Hops are constantly being crossbred to make new hop strands. And
Yeah,
those experimental hop strands are making other experimental hop strands. Like you're just never going to catch up. Like it's just
yeah,
impossible. Um, but yeah, so that competition was what was fun for me. I know it was fun for you. And I remember telling the wife when I came home, it's like I felt so bad for Steven because he was so excited, so elated, like how good his porter was. I was like, and I won. I think, like I said, it was like a point or two. It wasn't much
yeah.
at
No,
all. It
no,
was
I don't
such a
sweat that.
slim margin.
I don't sweat it. If I like it and somebody else doesn't like it, then I'm okay with it.
Yeah,
If I don't like the beer and other people like it, well, that's kind of bothers me more because at the end of the day, I'm brewing it for me and Sierra to drink here at the house. I'm not really looking to enter it in competitions or something. I want some feedback, but like everybody says this, but I brew the beer that I want to make here at the house.
yeah.
So yeah, I probably
That's
was
why I kind of like
came home and
how our
enjoyed my
competition
porter.
has been.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And the beer,
Yeah, I've made that style since
homebrew
then. Yeah,
what's that? You haven't made the stout since then? Okay. Man, it was a good beer though, and I'm happy for you, and your beers continue to, like, improve, like, dramatically, man. you know?
I'm trying. I'm
I
trying really
remember,
hard. I
like,
want
you
to
telling me
like
a long time
quality.
ago, and then from now, like, your beer's great, man. But I've
Thank you.
noticed
I
that a lot
appreciate that.
about most people in the brew club, their beers just continue to improve, you know? The brew club has some great homebrewers, you know?
We do. We have some really good ones. We're missing some that have been around a while. I really miss their tasty beverages.
Yeah,
Pat
yeah.
and Todd, like we said earlier. I haven't seen those guys in a while, and there's someone
But,
else too. I was thinking of.
yeah,
Well,
I've
Lance
just
hasn't been around a whole lot either.
yeah, no, he travels a lot. Every time I see him, he's traveling somewhere else.
Or working out, one or the other.
Yeah, he works out a lot. I think that, your podcast, and I mentioned this to you the other day, this podcast has been really good for me because, like, I don't know that I would say I was, like, tired or discouraged, but I guess I've been feeling a little bit burnt out in the past, like, couple of years with
Hmm.
homebrewing. I still like doing it, but maybe I just lost a little bit of energy. And, I started listening to podcasts and, like, I hear all these other homebrewers talk, and I've really enjoyed listening to it, and I feel like I've learned some things by listening to it, and I've just, uh, had a little bit more boost in enthusiasm, I suppose. So,
Yeah.
I usually will put my earbuds in, and I'll jog around the neighborhood and listen to the podcast, and it's just kinda nice little weekly treat for me when it comes out on
There you
Mondays.
go. Yeah, that's
Man,
perfect, man.
I've just really enjoyed the podcast, so I think you're doing a great job, and I hope you
Well, thank
continue to
you.
do it, and I hope people continue to hop on here and, spread their enjoyment of the hobby.
Exactly, 100%. Make sure they like, comment, subscribe, all that fun stuff.
There you
Yeah,
go.
so so I had to drop that in. So I kind of want to talk about the brew club that we're in just a little bit. So from your aspect of it, like, so how long have you been a member, and how did you get involved with BrewNet?
So I was there when it started, that I don't remember what year it was, 2015 maybe?
Wow,
Maybe
okay,
no, it wouldn't have been around that long, has it? We haven't been around that long.
maybe 2019, maybe.
I don't know. I'm sure there's a sticker or something around. But I think I was friends with Chris Cates at the brew shop, and he had talked to me about like, hey, there's a new homebrew club forming from Gavin Andrews. Um, was one to form it. So yeah, I said, yeah, because I used to go to the brew shop almost every week just to chat with Chris about brewing and buy ingredients. And so it formed with like probably 6 or 7 people on the first
Mm-hmm.
meeting. I was at the first meeting. I think I brought a Berliner Weiss, and, I remember bringing a red Berliner Weiss for some reason. I don't know why I remember that, but, we formed that year, and then that year, there was a little Chicago Fest, I think, at downtown Johnson City, and
Mm-hmm.
our homebrew club got together, and we actually brewed a saison on the street in downtown Johnson City, and it was a mixed fermentation saison, and what we did, we got together, like, sometime a week or 2 after primary fermentation. Everybody drank a bunch of mixed culture sour beer, and we took all the dregs from the bottles and put it in that batch.
Interesting. Yeah.
And ironically enough, I've still got the last 5 or 6 bottles of that brew in my basement,
Wow.
which would be kinda cool to bring out for our, I don't know, for a 10-year anniversary, but when we have a 10-year anniversary with the brew club, I'm trying to keep those around to open up.
Oh, that's
Because,
exciting. Yeah.
they'll age really well.
Hmm. Hmm. So how has the the club pushed you into trying different styles and techniques?
I think, I think it just there's a lot of beer that I want to make, a lot of styles I wanna make. So and I just like to be able to, like, let's say hypothetically, I wanna make a Berliner Weiss or, I've been making, Grodziskie, once a year. That's like a oak smoked wheat lager or well, it's not really a lager, but it's oak smoked wheat ale. Um, so anyways, I'm digressing, but making beers like that and then bringing it to the meetings for people to drink and talk about, "Hey, I did this Grodziskie with 100% oak smoked wheat wheat malt. Taste it. Tell me what you think. So I like the feedback of the homebrew club. It's great because I mean it's not sometimes exciting for me to get really nerding out on a beer and then I'm just sitting in my basement by myself drinking it. I like I like to talk about beer. I like to talk about the history of some of the beers. So in that regard, I think the homebrew club has allowed me to like brew more different styles, and talk about different styles. I've learned a lot from the brew club members. Probably every one of them, I've learned something from them. Yeah, whether
Yeah.
it's Lance talking about Hefeweizen or Brian talking about an IPA or a stout or, anybody has taught there are a lot of people that taught me a lot of stuff. So, I don't know, what have the homebrew club done for me? Yeah, it's made me brew more, and I've learned a lot more. And, at the end of the day, I've made a lot more friends. I don't have a lot of friends in the Tri-Cities, so most of my friends um, have been developed with the brew club.
I agree with that. Yeah, we moved down here with just me and wife and the kids. That was it.
Yeah,
So like making friends was, you hit a certain age in life, it's a little harder to make friends than it was when you're younger, right? So you
yeah,
become an adult, it's tougher. And then when I was in college, I was 28. So I was already 10 years older than all my classmates. Anyways, I had nothing in common with them. I had 3 kids, 28 years old. They just trying to figure out how to buy alcohol at 18, right? So, and
yeah,
they weren't getting it from me. So, like, it was hard to make friendships that way. I might have a couple buddies I still talk to from college, but like, it's nothing like it would have been if I was younger, right? So,
yeah,
but
it's definitely different.
yeah, so with the homebrew club is definitely like, I've definitely made more friends. Obviously, like, I mean, I consider all of you guys, friends of mine. The only thing that kind of sucks is we only get together once a month,
Yeah,
and and I have more time. I think we all have more time. But it'd be nice to get together outside of that. Just do something, meet up somewhere, go out to dinner or whatever. Again, I'm digressing as well too. So I kind of do want to talk about no, excuse me. I do want to talk about what I like about the homebrew club is, especially like for this competition, like some of the beers that are coming up, I've never made before. Like I never made a pale ale before or hazy pale ale. So I get to make that. Making a goza. I'm not gonna say which one it is, 'cause I don't want nobody to steal my idea, but I'm gonna make a goza for the next competition.
it's a Sabro coconut pina colada beer is what it is.
Right?
Yeah,
Oh, mine's not gonna be, I'll tell you this much. It's not gonna be it's not gonna be super tart. I don't like sour beer, so it's not gonna be a sour goza. It's gonna be more of the tart side, I would say. I can't remember what the other ones we have, but I feel like one's like a stout. I may recreate that one stout again just because I haven't made it in 2 or 3 years. So it may be fun just to kind of see if I can make it as good as I did the first time around, or even better, even right. So, but yeah, so the competition gives me an opportunity to make beer styles I just don't think I'm making. But my board up there, I have things I'm definitely going to make this year. I already did my cloche. I need to remake that. I want to do a different yeast, but I have a dunkel I want to make. Belgian. I want to make Belgians. I've not made a Belgian yet. Well, yeah. So I wanted to have a double. That's on my list. So I'm gonna do a double first, and then I'll probably do a triple. Those are probably my two favorite styles. Then I'll probably do a single and a quad. Um, Me and Kobe are supposed to do a barley wine in the couple months. I'm gonna go out there.
yeah,
We're gonna brew together, and that one's gonna be barrel aged, which would be even more interesting.
wonderful.
Then I have a pineapple mead, which I'm just going to use all pineapple juice and
Uh-huh.
honey, no water.
I'm
I think
That
that'd be pretty
sounds
cool.
good.
And then a strawberry mango cider.
That's a lot of beer you're gonna make, and I like the diversity that you're doing, right?
Yeah, yeah,
You got some
yeah,
classic Dunkel from Germany, you got some Belgians beer, American stout, you said a Goza, good
yeah. For
lord.
competition, yeah.
Then
So
that's
then,
great because, man, you're gonna, like, learn a lot by just brewing those, you know?
yeah, that's what I want now.
What's the one you're most excited about?
Ooh, so the Heffy I got going on right now is number one. Number two is going to be the double I'm going to make.
Yeah, yeah. The
Yeah,
Belgian
yeah.
double.
No, that's going to be my excited one, and I'm using like a Christmas berry honey instead of candy sugar.
Wonderful. Christmas
Yeah.
berry honey, I've never
Yes,
heard of that.
from Hawaii, and it gives like fig and plum notes and stuff like that.
Okay.
So it should be a really interesting double, I think, all said and done.
Yeah. I was gonna make a barley wine soon, and I bought some, honey online called Meadow Foam honey. Have you
Yes,
ever heard of Meadow
think
Foam?
think that's the one that tastes like marshmallow or can taste like a marshmallow.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
like
yeah.
straight, vanilla marshmallow, and
Mhm.
it's delicious, and I
Yeah.
bought it to go in the barley wine, but we've been drinking it in hot tea recently. Sierra, in fact, was drinking it in tea this morning, so maybe I have enough left. If not, I'll just have to reorder it.
Buy some more. I know talk to Kobe, he can give you a guy to talk to get stuff pretty cheap. Like, I paid way too much for mine, he said.
Yeah, I probably spent too much on the Metaphone. I had to order it from this website. It's great, but it's expensive.
Yeah, I got mine through, like, zspecialties.com. I paid, like, $9 for the honey and then, like, 12, $13 to ship it.
Yeah,
That was just so it was just, like, a 30 some odd dollar product, right? So, like, man, that's expensive. That's, like, that's probably half my grain bill.
yeah,
It's just
yeah,
and price-wise, it's just that. But yeah, so now I do want to talk about your cold side a little bit. So you
yeah.
have 2 spike conicals with glycol. That's a pretty significant investment, like, spikes are not
It
cheap.
is. Yeah,
So when
it's.
you
I
make
hate.
that sorry.
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
I just said, yeah, sorry. I hate spending money quite a bit. I'm a pretty frugal person, but over the course of several years, I always wanted to do like really cold fermented lagers and really have a tight temperature control. So I think I bought a conical with glycol and loved it so much, and I just went ahead and bought.
No, that is perfect. So with the glycol how do I wanna ask this question? So between, like, a fermentation chamber and a glycol system, what are the pros and cons between one and the other?
Pros and cons between a glycol system and what else
Yeah.
did you say?
And a fermentation chamber?
Well, yeah, so, I did somewhat have a fermentation chamber prior to the glycol setup. I had, a friend of mine gave me an old kegerator, like a standard kegerator, and, I had in the basement, and he complained that the kegerator didn't get cold, but the kegerator actually still works, it's functional in the basement, and it keeps a good temperature around low to mid 50s, which is perfect
Mhm.
to make lagers in. Um and it works great. I had a thermal well through, like, the, the bung has the thermal well going through it that has an airlock, attachment, and I had a heat wrap around it to rise temperature if I wanted to do a diacetyl arrest. But the fermentation chamber does great, no complaints with it. The only thing I wanted to do, though, was have larger capacity, right? So, I really wanted a conical to do IPAs and pale ales so I can dry hop and drop the hops out in the cone. And I like, the brew days sometimes if I'm really excited about a beer, I'm happy to do a 10-gallon batch of, say, pilsner.
Mm.
I think more importantly, I just wanted a more capacity, a 10-gallon batch. So there's nothing wrong with doing the
Yeah, so
fermentation
there you go.
chamber, though. I thought the fermentation chamber did equally as well producing lager beer.
Okay.
It's just
I was
small.
just kinda curious. Yeah.
Yeah,
So it's
but
just a volume thing basically is what you're kinda
Y
saying.
yeah, all it is. I mean, I can't like, yeah, I would certainly if somebody brews 5-gallon batches and wanted to do a little, like, fermentation chamber, temperature control, yeah, I would absolutely endorse that. I am an advocate for temperature control with home brewing or making beer, so that'd be one thing if I was, like, talking to a home brewer and they said, "I'd really like to make better home brew, what can I do?" I would say, like, temperature control is it's pretty invaluable to me. The quality of my homebrew changed after I started controlling the temperature.
So I guess, okay, it kind of brings up like a question on top of my head. So if someone came up to you and said, like, I have $500, I want to upgrade my setup, what should I spend that money on?
That's tough. I mean, I'm always gonna say, like, anything to control temperature, I don't know. I have a stir plate, I don't think that's quite necessary. I have an oxygen wand. I don't know that that's 100% necessary. Um I mean, like, I don't know, and you always ask people about, like, what can I do to start out with? I think brew in a bag does great to make good wort. I just would always like, if you have money to spend, focus on cold side, you know? A good stainless steel fermenter, um, any means you can to control temperature, whether it's glycol or some sort of unique development that maybe you have had, and I think that's pretty much it. I mean, I would just focus on cold side if you got some money. Yeah, I don't have a lot of hobbies, and I'm pretty frugal, so I felt comfortable spending a little bit more dough on my cold side fermentation. And I brew a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, I guess I don't have this question right now. Like, so how much do you brew in a year? How
Uh,
many gallons do you think you produce?
Probably way more than I should. Probably illegal, but yeah, I don't know, man. To be
250
honest,
years, what he's saying, folks.
is that right? Yeah, I don't know. I try to brew once every week or two.
Okay.
That
Wow. Yeah.
that's depending on upon how long fermentation's taking, and I
Hmm.
also so I've got the conicals that I primarily do like pale ales or lagers in.
Hmm.
I also have another anvil, 6.5 gallon
Yeah.
vessel
Hmm.
that I keep in the fermentation chamber that I was talking about earlier, and that's where like I do more of my like smaller experiments if I'm doing I don't know. Like, for example, my Hefeweizen today went in the small one because Hefeweizen sometimes doesn't turn out how I like it. So, or maybe I want to use a different yeast. I'm not comfortable with that yeast, and I don't want to commit to a 10-gallon batch. So, if I do a small batch, I'll put it in my fermentation chamber with that small anvil, and it's got a thermal well and a heat wrap, and I can-
I think that might be my next purchase is maybe a fermentation chamber because I've reduced how much I brew. I'm down to more like 3 gallon batches for the most part. I did a 5 gallon batch because I didn't want to waste the yeast basically because like everything I've been told like I want to underpitch the yeast, which I didn't. I just used the whole package. I'm brewing like 5 gallons, and I'm kind of curious what that's going to taste like as well too. Um, but I feel like that might be a nice way to combat my jankiness of my cold side, right? So I just have a fermentation chamber where I can just, like you said, I can set it at whatever 40 degrees if I want to, or 65 degrees, or put a heat wrap on it that can control that a lot better that way. Because I still fight the ambient air, obviously, because it's just sitting out in the open, right?
yeah, right,
I try to wrap it. I have an old winter jacket, so when it get like in the winter months, I will put the jacket and zip it up,
yeah.
right, to kind of help control some of the ambient temperature. Because my basement gets like 64 degrees, which is chilly to me, not sitting down there all day long, but I guess probably fine for the beer, but I still wrap it up anyways.
I I do the same thing. I mash in a stainless steel kettle right outside with a false bottom. So if it's really cold outside, I've got to bundle jackets around the mash
Okay,
kettle
yeah,
to
yeah,
maintain a temperature. It's kind of funny. You just kind of do whatever you can,
yeah,
do whatever you
exactly,
can to make it work.
right.
Is there something you've done that's like obviously your beer's improved? Have you done something that you stick to and you advocate for, be like, "This is something that I'm really a stickler about that makes my beer taste better." Like, would it be temperature control? Would
Yeah,
it
it
be,
is now. Yes, yeah,
okay.
yeah. It's definitely temperature control. Like I said, with my system that I have, like it's like I said, it's janky, but I'm just impressed that it works, right? Because like again, the bucket is sitting in my keys, or my keys are set to 36 degrees or whatever. So the water is probably gets no warmer than 45, 50 degrees, even still trying to cool it down, right? And then eventually it'll balance itself out again, it'll drop back down again. So for that system, it works great. I've even thought about, because I do have a wooden collar, I thought about drilling two small little holes through there, getting some copper piping or tubing to go through those, right? And then just attach it that way. So I can, since my lid's not completely closed, I have to put weights on my lid to like compress it a
Yeah.
little bit, right? So, um, like I said, I'll have to take a picture and kind of send it to you. But I like it works. But I feel like I feel like cold side has definitely gotten better. I think that's what I was missing. Probably my first probably 3 years of brewing was I was just using ambient temperature. Then I bought the spunning valve. Then the spunning valve improved my beer for the most part. And then I was like, well, let me just make this thing. And I made that, and that worked really well. And which led me to make like I made a keg cleaning system. So I bought the same pump. I bought an attachment to thread a PVC pipe onto it, and the PVC pipe's probably about maybe 3.5 feet long or so. I have a cap on there. I drilled holes in there so the water goes in all different directions. So it just blasts in there. So like it just
Yeah.
blasts all the gunk out, washes it down.
Well, that's so much easier than, like, cleaning it, like, just pouring water in.
I did that probably a dozen times. Like, there's got to be a better way. This
Yeah,
sucks.
that's awful. And then one more thing I thought about as you were talking
Yeah,
that would I would, like, pretty well, like, tell people to do if they were getting into home brewing and wanna make better beers. I think a lot of people typically underpitch their beer with yeast. So again, I usually will endorse the idea of getting a very large Erlenmeyer flask. Stir plate's kind of a contentious issue too. A lot of people say you don't need a stir plate, but I make large yeast starters when I do beer. Even when I do, ironically enough, a lot of people say you need to underpitch Hefeweizens. I don't know if you ever read that,
I
but I
did. Yeah,
always make a. I don't really grow a lot of yeast, but I do make a starter from a Hefeweizen because I think it made my Hefeweizen taste better.
interesting. Okay.
Yeah, so, again, I'm not trying to make a larger cell count, but I am trying to make the yeast alive and healthy prior to.
So, do you double pitch then? Do you take like 2 packets of yeast and get it going that way? No.
No, for a 5-gallon batch, I do 1 pack of the White Labs 300, but I make about a 500 milliliter starter with that and
Okay.
get it active, you know?
Yeah. So like
Um
some DME or something like that.
Yeah, DME or from the previous batch, I'll take some work and,
Okay.
so I do one or the other, but, the biggest thing I will say is I always make a yeast starter typically,
Okay.
like, on every
Okay.
beer, and I think, if I go to, like, people and they say, "Let me taste your beer," like, I feel like most of the time, I feel like people, like if there's any issue with the homebrew, it's usually, to me, underpitched, like, the yeast has been stressed, the yeast isn't
Right.
really healthy, it was kinda old, you know? So I think people maybe should put more attention to their yeast starters or maybe getting fresh yeast or maybe just more packs of yeast, you know what I'm saying?
Do you add any yeast nutrients to it as you're building up your starters?
Yeah, no, not when I'm building up my starter. I add
Okay.
Y yeast nutrient during the boil, but, when I'm doing my starters, I usually don't add nutrient, no. And I
That
don't
was
oxygenate either, but the stir plate's supposed to, encourage a little bit of, aeration.
but so I was debating that today to add any yeast nutrients to the Hefeweizen, and the reason why I didn't, because like as again going by what people were saying, you're supposed to underpitch, you want to stress the yeast and stuff like that. And I was like, well, I'm not going to underpitch because again, I don't want to waste it. So I'm not going to add yeast nutrients. I don't want to give it more stuff to, I guess, be healthier or 'cause I still kind of wanted to stress, I guess, a little bit. So, but
Yeah.
my thought process, well, if I don't add the yeast nutrient, maybe it'll still stress, maybe not as bad, but I still have a little bit of stress and give me more of that banana flavor. But when I looked at the White Labs website on their chart, by default, it already has a high level of banana and like a mid level of clove. So what I may try to do for the first time is actually save the yeast after this, and then maybe repitch it and try make another Hefeweizen, and then maybe add some yeast nutrient to it and see what it tastes like, or maybe only pitch 3/4 of it, maybe stress it out a little bit just to kind of see what I do get. But I kind of just played it safe. I just pitched it and I was going to let it do its own thing. And what I get is what I get. But I'm
Yeah,
already
but
thinking of different ideas already, right? So,
yeah, yeah, and I've thought I make Hefeweizens yearly, and I've last year I made 3 Hefeweizens, 3 or 4, and I
wow.
just pretty analytical in regards to, like, what I'm tasting and what I don't like, and I'll write my notes, and one thing I did notice is my my pH on my Hefeweizens are getting a little lower than normal, after
Mm,
fermentation,
how
so I
low
don't
was it?
it was like, it was low 4s, lower than what I'm used to,
Okay.
and it tasted like I felt like the beer tasted kinda tart to me.
Okay.
I don't know much about that, all I know is I stopped using, lactic acid so much in the mash, and I accept a higher mash on my Hefeweizen, and I feel like it tastes better. I cut out salts and all my salts, I kept it really, like, bland water,
Really?
very
Okay.
salt. I usually open ferment for the first 2 or 3 days with that,
That's
and,
awesome.
what else? Uh, it's hard to get stable haze with the Hefeweizen, so I use some, unmalted wheat. It's
Okay.
supposed to contribute more haze. And then I use some chip malt in mine too.
What did you know? Okay.
It's more mouth feeling, also haze stability. So another thing I think about when I do Hefeweizen.
Yeah, mine was simple. I did 6 pounds of white wheat and 4 pounds of pilsner.
Perfect. That
Yeah,
sounds great. Yeah, simple,
just
easy.
simple.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And I
just something
think the
simple.
worst Hefeweizens I ever made have been because my fermentation temperature got too hot. I think a lot of people go too hot trying to like encourage that isolamyl acetate banana, clovey kind of phenolic-y taste. And I think Hefeweizens get super weird and undrinkable when they get hot, in my opinion. So
Well, they probably could. Yeah.
yeah, I keep it between the lines when it comes to yeast temperature
Mm-hmm.
profile.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Like I said, I'm in between the lines, but I'm just gonna step mine up just a little bit as the
Yeah,
days go
yeah, I
on.
think that's
Right.
great. I do
So
too.
I think in my mind, again, it was from reading a bunch of different articles and people winning all these awards and stuff like that. They all seem to have they're all stepping up like the temperature. Like, but I didn't pick exactly one. I think I just picked some random numbers that within the range. I'm like, I'm just gonna go with these because that's what I feel like going with. So I'll go with that.
I I think, you told me what you done, that sounded great. Like, as far as in
Yeah.
regards to what you're gonna do in the temperature profile of
Yeah.
fermentation, and yeah, I'm excited to try it, man. I think it'll turn out
So am
good.
I.
I
Yeah.
think you'd be really happy with that White Labs 300. I think that's my favorite yeast.
Yeah. Like I said, I think it'd be kind of cool if we both brought ours together
Yeah,
and
I
just
would
kind of
love to.
presented them. Like, here you go.
It's a fun style to make, man, and every spring I try to make a Hefeweizen because I think it's a really nice, bright, beautiful beer in the spring weather, you know? So, I'm excited
Yeah.
about it, man.
Yeah, so am I. So I do want to get to like some fun questions now. So like the rapid fire round, which I'm sure you've heard this a few different times already. All right. So the first thing that comes to your mind, you can elaborate a little bit. It's totally fine. I don't mind. So I'll start with hazy or clear.
Uh, yeah, so generally clear, but I have, particularly, like, an interest in, like, hazy Keller style lagers, and I love, like, fresh lager. I like to drink my lagers right off the fermentation vessel, so, yeah, so
Okay.
slightly hazy when it comes to that, but generally, I like clear beer.
Clear beer. There you go. Bottle or canned.
Bottle feels good.
There you go. Ales or
Feels
lagers. I think I know the answer, but
yeah, lagers,
yeah.
sure.
Favorite hop variety.
That's a great question, and I'm prepared to answer that question because, my favorite, American hop is gonna be Simcoe,
Okay.
and my favorite German well, European hop would be, Hallertau.
Okay. There you go. Perfect.
But man, I'll tell you what, Callista's coming up in my preference. You ever used Calista hops?
Not yet. Nope.
Yeah, alright. I haven't used them a lot, but they're becoming pretty popular in my rotation.
There you go. Favorite yeast strand.
Uh Just in general or,
Yeah, just in general. Yeah.
man, probably my favorite is, gonna be like a easy generic answer, but Chico is probably my favorite.
Okay. Nothing wrong
Everybody
with
brews
that.
with Chico, but man, there's a reason why everybody brews with Chico, and Chico is
Exactly.
gonna be, man, just perfect. I mean, like, I don't know, it's great. Outside of that, like a lager yeast, a particular fan of the, Omega Baron lager yeast.
Okay. I don't think I've heard
Yeah,
of that one either. Yeah, that's
yeah,
interesting.
it's actually you can ferment a little warmer. And
Okay.
it really likes a little bit warmer, fermentation temperature, so that's one thing I would advocate for if you wanna do a lager, but you have a little bit warmer temperature, barren lager, and it produces, like, a really aromatic, to me, like, a new cool fermentation profile.
Okay. That's perfect. What's your favorite beer glass?
Yeah, my favorite is gonna be, it's good questions. I always like these questions at the end of the yes, because I think about them and I've went back and forth. Probably, it's embarrassing to say. I don't know if I'm saying it right or not. It's called a Willie Becker glass.
Becker?
Yeah.
Well, I think I've heard of
I've
that
heard
one.
no, I've heard some people call it a Willie Betcher. So I'm sure somebody's gonna be very critical of my answer, but you see it?
I do. So, okay. So it's kind of,
Yeah,
Kind of curve it a
it's
little bit.
got like
Yeah.
what looks like a pint glass, but kinda rounds out at the
Yep.
top.
Yep.
I think I've just
Those are kind
drank.
of cool looking. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a it's a very versatile glass. It's great with a pale ale, it's great with a lager, it's great with, a stout or a porter. You can even throw a Belgian beer in there and it'd look pretty sharp, but, I don't know, I like a tulip glass too. Some
Yeah. Those are nice.
Willie
Yeah.
Venture's my favorite.
Yeah. I usually just grab, I have like 5 or 6 different pint glass. I mean, I have a set of glasses. I hardly ever get to them, but I just grab like the old pint glass and just go, pub style and be done with it.
Yeah, when I
Um,
do a lager, my favorite glass is like a mug.
like the Czech style mug.
It's somewhat similar to a Czech style mug.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Love those.
I almost grabbed one of those, but instead I grabbed your, like the cloche one you guys got rid of because like now, because now I want to make a good cloche to put in that glass.
Yeah, perfect. It's beautiful in that glass.
Yeah. Oh, and just, they're so cool looking. They're what, like 11 ounces, I think, something like that.
That particular glass, I think is, it's probably smaller. I'm thinking it's
They're
only like
smaller.
8
Okay.
ounces.
8 ounces, maybe. Okay. Yeah. Because I know
Yeah,
they're
so
not
you're
much because every time I watch videos on cloches, they're like that style glass. And they like, you don't ask for like a refill. They just come by and just keep putting it on your table and keep
yeah,
marking a little card until you
right
put
on.
that card on top of your glass. I'm done. I don't want
Yeah,
no more.
yeah.
I
Yeah,
want that experience. That'd be so much fun.
yeah, I would love it. I've had it in America, a couple of breweries, but I've never been to Cologne.
Yeah, I definitely want to try to get there someday. Let's see what else we got on here. Oh yeah, here's a good one. Most underrated beer style.
Uh, Most underrated beer style. It's a great question. I mean, I think underrated, not a lot of people drink like an American porter or an American stout. You don't see that a lot, but that's a really good style. Lately, people like underappreciate classic saison.
Mm-hmm.
People you don't see that style very often. So maybe classic saison would be another one I would say.
Be a good one too.
Underrated.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. I didn't try to have saison until I joined the brew club. Never even heard of
Oh,
one.
no, I thought about my perfect answer. Here's the most underrated style in America: smoked beer,
Yeah,
smoked lager. Yeah, that's a
smoked
great
lager.
answer.
Okay,
Yeah, I'm
there
gonna
you
go
go.
with that.
Yeah, it's again. I never had a smoked beer until I joined the beer club, and at first I did not like them. I despised them, and but the more you guys kept forcing them on me, I started to enjoy them. I can't drink a lot. I mean, I could probably drink a half a pint, and I'd probably be fine with it. And just the bad thing is, like, I'm constantly like it's gonna sound kind of gross, but I'm burping it for hours after the fact. I'm so
That
tasting it,
sounds pretty terrible.
and I was like, I don't like this, but I like the
Yeah.
taste.
A few years ago, Sarah and I went to, Germany. We swung by Bamberg, Germany, and
Okay.
we went to, brewery called Schlenkerla, and that they're worldwide known for their smoked beer. So we were drinking. I remember the brewery opened at like 10 a.m. So we were sitting there drinking smoked Märzen beer, smoked Doppelbock, eating like ground beef and onions at like 10 a.m. What a
Heck
good
yeah.
experience though that was.
Yeah, it's a good story. I love it. If you
Smoke
could
lager.
only brew one style forever, what would that be?
German Pilsner.
German Pilsner.
Yeah.
Nice.
Well, I would say Pilsner in general, Czech or German, but I guess I gravitate toward German Pilsner.
What is one brewing trend you'd like to see go away?
Go away. Yeah, I have thought about this answer too, and I was prepared. Me and Sarah were talking about this last night. And one of the brewing, this is not really a meant to. This is it's not intentional, but this is something I would like to see go away. Like I'm not a really like. It turns me off to go to breweries and they have dirty glassware.
Okay.
I don't
Yeah.
like dirty glass, and so, like, you go to a really good brewery, you think, and they pour you this beautiful beer, and you have these nucleation sites all over the glass.
Right.
It's just a dirty glass, and I'm not saying it's dirty in regards to, like, it smells funky or it tastes weird, it's unappetizing to look at, like, a glassware and see, like, the dirty, soap sooty kind of
Yes.
texture on the edge of the glass. I would like to see people, like, give a shit and, like, take care of their glassware a little bit more, you know? Like, I
No.
mean, I feel like I listened to a podcast from Templin Brewery in Utah, and really well-known lager producer out there around Salt Lake City, and he was talking about it's such a disrespect to him because he puts so much time and money and energy
Mm,
into, like,
yeah.
making a beer, and it lagers for weeks, and then he gives it to an account that well, he doesn't actually, but, like, he's always afraid of giving it to account where, like, they're gonna pour it in glass and the glass is gonna be dirty. It's really disrespectful, so, I don't know, I would like to say in regards to brewing trend, people take care of the glassware because the presentation of a beer to me is is as important as making the beer, to me.
Yes. No, I agree.
I like it.
I've got to the point where I've asked for non-iced beer beer mugs before, or
Yeah.
I have like at restaurants, and they just kind of look at you kind of funny. Like, what are you talking about? Like, 'cause sometimes, like, I don't know if you noticed this as well too, but you get that cold glass, and sometimes you can't even smell the beer. All you smell is that the glass defrosting. You get like all these weird vapors coming off of it, and like going, I don't need it like a 30-degree, frozen cup for this beer. Like the beer's fine. Like just pour it into a normal glass. I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
Even like I'm a sucker for Blue Moon on tap,
Yeah.
especially like with beer or not beer with pizza. So I mean, I always say I don't want an orange. They're like, what do you mean you don't want an orange? And I was like, well, there's a lot of reasons why I don't want the orange. Like the biggest one is like I don't know how many times the bartender touched this orange before he actually grabbed it. I don't know what state this orange was in before he or his hands. It's just
That's a
gross.
good
It grosses
point.
me out, right? So I just
Yeah,
say,
that's a
just I
good
don't want
point.
orange. I want orange.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And I always get the weirdest look every single time. I always explain to him. But anyways,
Yeah, so we go to the Mexican restaurant, she always gets a Modelo, and she loves the lime in the Modelo, and I'm not a big lime in
no,
beer kinda guy,
just
but I
give me the
always think
beer.
about that. I was like, "Where's that lime in you think?"
Yeah. And how long has it been sitting around? And how many days old is that? And
Yeah,
yeah, I like a good Modelo for sure. Oh yeah. But yeah, I'm like you. I don't like lime. I want the beer. I want to taste the beer. Like
I wanna taste the beer.
I
And I want it in a clean, nice glass, you know?
yeah.
I've been to destination breweries before, like, I'm really excited about going and drinking a specific beer, and I finally walked in the door, and I'm excited, and I get the beer, and the glass is dirty. I'm like, "Dude, man, like, I've wasted, so much anticipation to get here to drink this beer, and, like, they didn't even clean the glass," you know?
So what do you do at that point? Do you ask for a new beer?
No, no, I would never complain. I would never I'm not the type to complain, and I understand people, like, it's hard to m m it's hard to micromanage everybody, and I'm sure it's really
Yeah.
tough to I don't know, maybe it's hard to clean glassware. I wouldn't think so, but, I no, I would never complain. I just drink it and suck it up, you know? And then, like, critically, like, mentally, like, complain, I guess.
There you
Or complain to my wife, how's that?
there you go. Yeah.
You can leave this classic dirty.
Is there a trend you like to see come back?
Yeah, these are all tough questions because I could probably give you a list of things I would like to see change or a list of things, but
Right.
yeah, but like I think something I would like to see come back that kind of went away is I think I always really particularly like saison, like classic, fairly clean saison, like DuPont or
Oh yeah, DuPont's
okay, I
good.
always liked those beers. I think they were really enjoyable and they were unique and a really good drinking experience. And I think a lot of the reason why they went away is because breweries started like throwing like lactobacillus into them with like a lot of Brettanomyces in it, and the beers, those saisons, got pretty weird. You know, like tastes like and what people describe Brett in a lot of different ways, but horse blanket, right?
Mm,
Like, I think those flavors got really weird and unique, and like the average beer drinker just didn't like that.
yeah.
So saison got through kind of thrown in the mud in regards to like stylistically, I suppose. So I still like classic saison. So maybe I would like to see people producing more saison. And I know Chris
That'd be kinda
Cades is
cool, huh?
opening up soon, so maybe he'll be making some saison. Maybe that's something else I would like to see come back. I sup
There you go. That's a perfect answer. That's solid, yeah. Um, yeah, I think I enjoy a DuPont every once in a while. I don't get them as often since I mainly work from home. Like I hardly don't get out. Like I used to go to like a libation station every couple weeks when I worked in Piney Flats. Right, it was not really on the way home, but it wasn't too far all the way. So I swing by and what do you guys got? And I would go shopping around, and I get to the point where I would make a challenge of like, okay, I'm only going to spend $20. So what
Yeah.
beers can I get for $20? Or
Yeah.
what can I get for $30? This week. Just try to make these little games because you could easily spend $10 a bottle easily, and
Well, yeah,
and
man.
not even be a good beer either too. So
Beer's
that's one
gotten
way.
so expensive, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it has. Let's see. Okay, I'm gonna get to like the my little wrap up section here. So you've answered a lot of these questions already, which is great. I feel like a lot of these conversations just kind of go that way. So like I guess one advice question, since since you've been brewing close to 15 years now, if you could go back to your first brew day and give yourself one piece of advice, like what would that be?
I would say just go ahead and transition to all brand brewing the first day. Like I think
Oh, okay.
yeah, I started with the extract and I was never really happy with that. So if I could tell myself um to where to start, I would say, hey man, just jump in and do all grain. It's not that hard. And people like I think get nervous because it seems more complex, but it's not. So I would say just jump right in and do all grain. And I don't know. That's probably what I would tell myself.
There you go. Perfect answer. So who would you like to see me interview next?
Yeah. So I mean, there's a lot of people that I could sit here and say, yeah, I think we mentioned Todd is a great brewer and knows a lot. Tim knows a lot. Lance knows a lot. They've all been there, and they're my buddies. I know them all pretty good, so I can
Yeah.
tell you that they're gonna be a good resource to chat with. On the commercial side, I mean, I've always really enjoyed talking to Chris Cates.
Hmm.
He's very passionate about what he does, and he's opening up back again soon. So he's a great resource to talk to. Devin at Depot Street he's been in the brewing game a long, long time, and he's a great resource for me to bounce some ideas off of occasionally. And he's a pretty big lager guy, so I enjoy talking to him there. And then Eric Latham's a great option too. You know,
Yep, he said yes. We just got to figure out a time. He's
And
just a
I
very
have
busy
I have a
man.
lot of respect for everybody. I particularly like Eric. It's tough to do what he's been doing and maintain his optimism and his I don't know,
Very good
genuinely
guy.
good nature, you know?
Yes. Yep.
I like Eric a lot, and he's
Yeah.
always so happy to, like, share information. Again, I mentioned earlier, I like the transparency when people are willing to, like, chat about, like, what they're doing on a beer, and he's been good about that. So, hey, there's a list of things to talk to people about, right?
Yes.
Or a
Yes,
list of
there
people to
is.
talk
Thank
to.
you very much.
Yeah.
And my last question I usually ask everybody: is there a recipe you would like to share with the audience? So what I've been doing is like I have a Google Drive, and so every guest I've had so far has given me a recipe just to kind of share with them.
Absolutely not. None of all mine are proprietary
Dang it!
information. Yeah, I'm just kidding, man. Like, yeah, I would send you my all of my recipes if you want. Like, I'm just joking about that, but yeah, I'm happy to share with whatever. Like,
If you
I
just want to
would,
send me the link to Brewer's Friend, I can just
yeah.
post that even. That's
Well,
fine.
I don't even know. Like, if there's like a recipe that would be easy to share, like I've got a boatload of stuff I would be happy to share.
Perfect.
Probably a beer that I share every or I brew every year that consistently is probably a corn lager that
Okay.
I particularly like.
Yeah, send me that. I don't have any corn lagers
Yeah,
though.
yeah, that sounds good. I'm
Send me
happy to
that one.
do that. But
Okay.
yeah, man, if you ever want anything from me, I'm an open book in regards to the beer.
Oh, I know you are. Like I said, you've been one of the most requested from the our club to talk to. So
Well, that's fine. You've had some good people on, man.
yes, it's been a pleasure. Thank you very much, Stephen, for being on. I've had a blast. I hope you did as well too.
Absolutely. Thank you
And-
for letting me join, man, and I
oh
enjoyed
yes.
nerding out with you, Jeremy.
Heck yeah, this has been fun. I learned so much from you every time. So good talking to you. Hopefully I'll see you in what, about 3 weeks?
Yeah, man. Hopefully our Hefeweizen will be ready.
Yeah, that'd be perfect. All right, buddy. We'll see you. Thanks.
Have a good evening, buddy.